Chapter 1879. 1879 Challenge number 1879? Wang Xian looked at the group of young men and women in front of him indifferently. From their attire, he recognized them at a glance. They were the disciples of the Ling Shao treasured palace. Gu Xingkong and the rest were slightly stunned when they heard Wang Xian's words. They were already displeased and impatient to be asked to wait outside. When they saw someone walking out of the villa, a young man immediately walked over and stopped them. However, what they didn't expect was that the person in front of them actually said that he was Xiao Ran's master. "You bunch of people, make way." Hua Er pouted and said with slight dissatisfaction when she saw the 6 of them blocking in front of them. "Xiao Ran's master. Interesting. We never expected that Xiao Ran's master would be so young." Ha! A young man sized up Wang Xian and laughed out loud. "You guys are Xiao Ran's friends?" Wang Xian glanced at them and asked indifferently. "That kind of trash doesn't have the right to be our friends." The long-haired young man who spoke stared at him and said indifferently. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly. "I heard from Xiao Ran that his master has been suppressing his entire life. I am very curious. I am the divine son of the Lingshao treasure hall, Gu Xingkong. I want to challenge this person who has been suppressing his entire life." Gu Xingkong slowly took 2 steps towards Wang Xian. He was about 1.9 meters tall. As he looked down, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. "Brother Xingkong, just reveal your name. Don't scare them into kneeling down." Furthermore, how would he dare to agree to a challenge from a nobody? He doesn't have the qualifications to fight you either. The young man who had just started speaking spoke. He sized up Wang Xian and said, "Brother Xingkong, let me do it. I am Wu Zian, a disciple of the Lingshao Palace. This powerhouse who has suppressed his entire life. Let's spar. If not, I can let you have one hand." As Wu Zian spoke, an unbridled smile appeared on his face. Because of Ji Lingfei, they were already very displeased with Xiao Ran. They were also filled with curiosity and disdain towards Xiao Ran's master who had once suppressed them for a lifetime. If they were to humiliate Xiao Ran's master today, it would definitely be very interesting. "You guys don't have the qualifications to challenge our Dragon King." Before Wang Xian could speak, Yao Nu, who was at the side, stared coldly at Wu Zian. Her body exuded a wood attribute sharpness. Her eyes were filled with disdain as she stared at the few reckless young men and women in front of her. Challenging the Dragon King was courting death. The son of deity? He would be killed without the Dragon King's help. Yao Nu's words stunned Wu Zian. He turned around and looked at her, narrowing his eyes slightly. "What a pretty lady. TSK, there's a good saying on earth, big breasts but no brains." She actually said that I'm not qualified. Then I'll have to challenge her even more. When this world-suppressing powerhouse kneels in front of me in a while, I wonder if I'm qualified. Wu Zian laughed and said loudly. He was the elite among the millions of disciples in the Lingshao treasured palace. He was ranked in the top 50, yet he was said to be not qualified. It was really laughable. She is Yao Nu, the favored son of heaven on the prodigy roll. Her strength is at the 8th level of the insightful void tier. At this moment, another young man suddenly said in a low voice. He stared at Yao Nu with a trace of solemnity and surprise in his eyes. "A favored son of heaven? Yao Nu?" Wu Zian was slightly stunned when he heard his companion's words. The favored son of heaven and the others naturally knew that every favored son of heaven was a young man who had obtained a great opportunity on earth. Their strength was no weaker than the powerful disciples in the Lingshao treasured palace. The top few existences were even comparable to divine sons. "Get lost quickly." Yao Nu was not the slightest bit surprised when she heard that they recognized her identity. After all, just like divine sons, their fame as heaven's favored ones was not weak. Especially her, the heaven's favored one. Her photos were everywhere on the internet. She coldly shouted at the people from the Ling Shao treasured palace. Interesting, I didn't expect to meet a proud daughter of the heavens. Gu Xingkong looked at the corner of Yao Nu's mouth, his eyes shining. However, a proud son of the heavens at the 8th level of the see-through void tier is not enough to make us scram. The so-called proud daughter of the heavens is only on earth. Hee, I'd like to see it. Behind Gu Xingkong, a woman walked over and sized up Yao Nu. So, are you guys not going to make way? Yao Nu saw them standing there with a provocative look in their eyes. To have a favored daughter of heaven by his side, it seems like Xiao Ran's master isn't so useless. Let's spar. Gu Xingkong stared at Wang Xian and said faintly. Today, he would definitely humiliate Xiao Ran's master and embarrass him. You bunch of bad guys, get out of the way. At this moment, Hua Er, who was by the side, was a little unhappy. The little girl had her hands on her waist and a fierce look appeared on her face. That look of hers was extremely fierce. Hee. Wang Xian looked at their arrogant expressions and a hint of coldness appeared in his eyes. You don't know what's good for you. At this moment, Yao Nu's palm moved and the god-beating palm in her hand directly attacked the group of people in front of her. Wang Xian stood there and didn't move when he saw Yao Nu making her move. He just watched quietly. She actually dares to attack us. I really want to experience the strength of a heaven's favored daughter. The woman standing beside Gu Xingkong stared at Yao Nuan. With a wave of her hand, a sky-blue sharp sword appeared in her hand and met the attack head-on. Hey, don't injure her. Otherwise, Sister Ji Lingfei will blame me later. Qing, who was at the side, shouted at them helplessly when she saw them making a move. Even though she knew that the other party had a proud daughter of the heavens, she still did not think that the other party was a match for them. They knew the strength of their group. Ka. Yao Nu saw that the woman at the 8th level of the profound void martial stage was attacking her, and her eyes were filled with disdain. The god-striking sword in her hand collided with the blue sword. In an instant, under the shocked gazes of everyone around, the sky-blue sword directly collapsed. The god-slayer landed directly on the woman's arm. Ah! A scream sounded out as the woman's arm was instantly reduced to ashes. This scene caused all of them to reveal expressions of shock. Damn it, what a ruthless method. How dare you injure a disciple of the Lingshao treasured palace? Go to hell. The expressions of Gu Xingkong and the others changed drastically. Looking at their companion's miserable state, a terrifying killing intent instantly burst forth from their bodies. Clang! Sharp swords and weapons appeared in their hands one after another, and their cold gazes locked onto Yao Nu. You bunch of bad guys are bullying big sister Yao Nu. At this moment, they saw a group of people attacking Yao Nu. Hua and Kaira's small faces were slightly red, and they revealed furious expressions. At the same time, a powerful wood attribute energy began to gather within their bodies. Chapter 1880. 1880. Fierce milk and special hobbies. Ever since Hua Er and Kai Er woke up, Yao Nu had been staying close to them. From the two little girls' point of view, other than their bad daddy, Yao Nu was probably the closest person to them. When the two little girls saw the group attack Yao Nu, they were very angry. They showed fierce expressions on their faces and puffed up their little faces, expressing their abnormal anger. In their bodies, waves of powerful wood elemental energy began to gather. In their minds, the battle memories that came from the bottom of their hearts were awakened one by one. Wang Xian noticed the changes in the two little girls' bodies at the first instance. He raised his eyebrows slightly and stood there without moving. With Yao Nu's current strength, with the god-striking branch in her hand, anyone under the godly state who was hit by her vital parts would be turned into ashes. The powerful one was not Yao Nu, but the god-striking branch in her hand. God-striking branch. From these two names, one could see how powerful this branch was. It could hit any god. It could also hit any divine weapon. Of course, there was a prerequisite. The god-striking branch could land on the body of a god or a divine weapon. Currently, this god-striking branch was still a little weak. According to Wang Xian's guess, when he used it, the god with 5 wisps of divine fire would be severely injured if his vital parts were hit. The divine weapon of 5 wisps of divine fire could be destroyed directly. The branches that could be absorbed by the ancestral tree were all extraordinary. This was also the main reason why Yao Nu shattered the woman's sharp sword and arms during the battle just now. When Yao Nu saw the power of the god-slaying branch in her hand, she was also extremely shocked. However, when she saw the other 4 young men and women, including the son of deity, making a move, her expression changed slightly. However, there was not much fear on her face. Not to mention that the Dragon King was right beside her, holding the god's striking branch in his hand. Now that her cultivation had also risen to the 9th level of the profound void tier, she was full of confidence to fight across realms. Facing the divine sun, she was not afraid at all. Die for me, Brahma sword. Gu Xingkong's eyes were filled with killing intent and ruthlessness when he saw the Jade Lady's chosen heavily injuring her companion. A wide and sharp sword appeared in his hand. The sharp sword was filled with unique characters. He waved his hand and the Brahma sword instantly grew in size. It was burning with raging flames as it headed straight for Yao Nuan. At the side, the other 3 men and women were also holding sharp swords as they attacked Yao Nuan. Ichimich, you're courting death. Yao Nu held the god-striking branch in her hand. Facing the Brahma sword that was attacking her, she didn't show any fear and directly attacked. Crack, crack, crack. The moment the god-striking branch landed on the Brahma sword, the sound of it collapsing was heard again. The seemingly powerful Brahma sword immediately shattered the moment it touched the god-striking branch. What? At this moment, Gu Xingkong's expression changed drastically when he saw his sharp sword collapse. This was a weapon that he had chosen after becoming the 3rd divine son in the treasure vault of the Lingxiao Palace. This was a demigod-level spiritual weapon. Now, it actually collapsed in an instant. His eyes were filled with disbelief. You deserve to die. He roared loudly with a ferocious expression. This was his strongest weapon, yet it had actually collapsed. Don't touch the weapon in her hand, don't use your weapon to clash head-on. He roared with a gloomy expression, his body retreating backwards. At the same time, torrential flames shot towards Yao Nuan. The other 3 young men and women saw the miserable state of Gu Xingkong's weapon and hurriedly withdrew their weapons, retreating backwards as well. They released their divine abilities and launched long-range attacks. 1. Yao Nu's expression changed slightly when she saw that the other party had directly released their divine abilities and launched long-range attacks. Her strength was, after all, at the 9th level of the profound void tier, 2 realms away from the 1st level demigod, Lone Star Sky. The other 3 men and women were not much weaker than him. She held the god-striking hand and directly supported herself in the sky. A dark green defense was formed, and divine abilities landed on it, causing it to slowly crack open. Yao Nu's expression changed drastically, and she hurriedly dodged to the side. Boom! The attack landed on the ground of the villa, instantly revealing a 100-meter deep pit. If it was not for Ao Xingmu covering the wall, it would have collapsed. The aftermath of a battle at the level of a Dongshu demigod was still very terrifying. All of this was because they had restrained themselves a lot, which was why the area was so small. It's over, it's over. I can't explain this to Sister Ji Lingfei anymore. Qing Qing's expression changed slightly when she saw Gu Xingkong and the others filled with killing intent from the side. What's going on? At this moment, Ji Lingfei also walked over and looked at the group of people in the battle with an embarrassed expression. Sister Ji Lingfei, Gu Xingkong and the others wanted to spar with Xiao Ran's master. In the end, that Jade Lady prodigy walked out and ruthlessly crippled Yunchuan's arms. Now, she has shattered Gu Xingkong's weapon. Qing Qing saw Ji Lingfei walking over and hurriedly walked over to say, "You're courting death." Ji Lingfei's expression was somewhat ugly as she directly said, "What?" Qing Qing was slightly taken aback when she heard her words. Her face was clearly filled with shock. You bunch of villains bullying Sister Yao. We're angry, we want to beat you up. Right at this moment, two childish voices rang out at the same time. The sudden voice caused Gu Xingkong and the other two to be slightly taken aback as they prepared for the second round of attacks. Brother Xingkong, kill her. Kill her. She actually crippled my arms. Kill her. However, just as the two childish voices fell, Yun Chuan, who had both his arms crippled by the Godslayer, let out an incomparably shrill scream. You hurt our companions and destroyed my weapons. No one can save you today. Gu Xingkong's eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Yao Nuan while the fire swords behind him condensed. Die, Godslayer fire swords. He roared, and the fire swords that seemed to be condensed from lava flew toward Yao Nu. Heaven ice crack. Traceless hurricane. Many divine abilities flew toward Yao Nu. It would be very difficult for anyone below the void interpretation stage to survive such a terrifying attack. Would defend. Would bind. The instant their attacks were unleashed, two tender voices sounded once again. A branch appeared in front of Yao Nuan. The branches interweaved and formed a shield that was 100 meters long. Bang, bang, bang. The divine abilities landed on the shield without leaving any traces. The tender voices and the defense that appeared out of nowhere blocked their attacks, causing the expressions of Gu Xingkong and the others to change slightly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, before they could react, hundreds of dense branches appeared from underground. The branches were twining towards them. Not good, an expert is attacking. Wu Zian's right leg was twined by the branches, and his expression changed drastically as he shouted loudly. The other two young men and women were also instantly bound by the branches, and their expressions were also extremely unsightly. Only Gu Xingkong managed to dodge the attack of the branches. You bunch of bad guys, will teach you a good lesson. At this moment, Hua Er and Kai Er walked towards the center of the battlefield. There were flowers and branches floating around them, and their entire bodies were emitting an extremely powerful aura. When they saw them appear in the center, Gu Xingkong and the others were stunned. Wu Zian also widened his eyes. Were they the ones who attacked just now? Were they the strong ones he mentioned? Chapter 1881. 1881. In 1881, Grandma was fierce and had a special hobby. How is this possible? Wu Zian, Gu Xingkong, and the others looked at the two little girls standing in front of them. They were dressed in an ordinary lowly outfit and had a blade of grass sticking out of their heads. They looked extremely cute. Their mouths were puffed up and their faces were slightly red. Grandma was fierce. The two little girls looked like they were at most 7 or 8 years old. But it was them who had released an attack that wrapped around them. How was this possible? They were the elites of the Lingshao treasured palace. In front of millions of disciples, they could also be ranked first. But now, they were actually blocked by two little girls who were 7 or 8 years old. How could they believe this? Oh my God, how is this possible? These two little girls. Qing Qing, who was standing to the side, saw Hua and Kai. Her eyes widened as she stared at them in disbelief. Are they? Ji Lingfei, who was standing beside Qing Qing, had a look of shock in her eyes. Sensing the energy in their bodies, Ji Lingfei's heart was in turmoil. They fell. They also fell. Ji Lingfei was now certain in her heart. She gulped in shock and took a deep breath. What she had encountered today was simply too shocking. Sister, there's still one guy you haven't caught. At this moment, Hua looked at the shocked Gu Xingkong floating in the sky and tilted her head as she spoke to Kai. I'll catch him again. Kai looked at Gu Xingkong, blinked her eyes, and waved her arm. The branches around her started to spin, and like a poisonous snake, they attacked Gu Xingkong directly. When Kai Er's attack came at him again, Gu Xingkong's shocked face widened again. Roar, how can a little girl? He growled and looked at the branches attacking him, his eyes full of disbelief. With a wave of his hand, streams of flames burned towards the branches. Little branches, Catch him. Kai Er saw that her branches had been burned. She pouted slightly and waved her arms. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the next moment, a scene that caused Gu Xingkong to feel fear appeared. On the ground, countless densely packed branches directly drilled out. Even behind him, there were countless branches that shot towards the sky. Every branch was like a poisonous snake. Boom, boom. The ground in front of the villa started to shake, and the head of an incomparably ferocious tree demon broke out from the ground. Those countless branches were its body. What is this thing? Gu Xingkong saw the monster that broke out from the ground, and his eyes widened, filled with shock. How could this little girl be so powerful? This was a damnable demigod-level attack. Destroy! His body floated in the sky. With a wave of his hands, terrifying flames descended. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, countless branches shot into the sky. The flames only destroyed 1/3 of the branches. Oh no! Gu Xingkong's expression changed drastically. His heart sank when he saw the branches appear behind him one after another. Sister, look, didn't I catch him? At this moment, a clear and melodious voice came from below. Didn't I catch him? Didn't you catch me? Hearing this, Gu Xingkong's body trembled violently. He had actually lost to a little girl? A 7 or 8-year-old little girl? He was the divine son of the Lingxiao treasured palace and the third divine son. This group of bad guys actually attacked Sister Yao. Sister, hang them up. Huar looked at the 4 people tied up by the branches and said to Kaier, hang them up? Should we beat them up? Kaier looked puzzled and waved her arm. The tree demon wrapped around their bodies and fell into the air. What are you doing? We are disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace. If you hurt us, our Lingxiao treasured palace will not let you off. A woman shouted at Huar Kaier with a panicked expression. The bad guys will be beaten. If you don't listen, you will be beaten up. Huar stretched out her arm and a long whip appeared in her hand. She swung it at the woman. Pa! The whip landed accurately on the woman's thigh, and in an instant, the woman's clothes were torn apart. Ugh! At this moment, the woman was stunned, and she could not help but let out a blood-curdling scream. Ichimich, go ahead and scream. The more you scream, the happier I'll be. Huar heard the woman scream, and her lips parted, revealing her dimples. Her eyes were like crescent moons. However, at this moment, Huar was like a devil in the eyes of others. Beat the bad guys, beat the bad guys. She began to mumble as the branches in her hands began to swing. Pa pa pa. Immediately after, the sound of whips hitting flesh rang out continuously. At this moment, the 4 young men and women from the Lingxiao treasured palace were completely dumbfounded. Stop, stop. I am the divine son of the Lingxiao treasured palace. Gu Xingkong's pupils constricted slightly when he saw his companion's miserable state. He shouted sternly when he saw the whips swinging towards him. Pa! However, a clear sound rang out. Pa pa pa! Following that, the flowers seemed to have found an interesting sound as they whipped at a fast and slow pace. This little girl was like a demon. She did not hit him lightly at all. After 2 or 3 hits, his skin was torn and his flesh was torn. The clothes of the 4 disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace were torn very quickly. They could not cover their bodies at all. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. I'm going to kill you. How could the 4 disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace be humiliated like this, especially Gu Xingkong? As a divine son, he was extremely powerful in the Lingxiao treasured palace. Everyone was respectful to him, but now he was actually spanked by someone. Moreover, his clothes were directly broken. This was simply an insult to him. Most importantly, the ones who attacked were 2 little girls. They looked to be only 7 or 8 years old. Scoundrel's mouth isn't clean. Sister, use more strength. Kaier heard their words and said to Huar, Giggle, giggle, okay? Pa 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 pa. As the strength of the 2 girls increased, it was no longer a simple matter of flesh being torn apart. This was a serious injury. Huar did not know the severity of the injury at all. After more than 10 consecutive strikes, they were bleeding profusely. Wang Xian stood at the side and was completely stunned when he saw the two little girls. He wanted to see the strength of the two little girls, but he did not expect them to be so brutal. Whipping? What kind of hobby is this? Teacher, let your two daughters be gentler. If anything happens to them, the Lingxiao treasured palace will probably. Ji Lingfei stared at the divine son and the elite disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace, who were screaming nonstop. She quickly walked to Wang Xian's side and whispered. She looked at the two little girls and the corner of her mouth twitched. They were simply two little demons. Moreover, they were extremely demonic little demons. Chapter 1882. 1882. The transformation of 1882. Clap, 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 clap. The sounds of whips were heard continuously, accompanied by the painful growls of the disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace. They were suspended upside down in the sky, and the whips would land on them from time to time. The four of them looked extremely miserable. They no longer looked like the elite disciples and divine sons of the Lingxiao treasured palace. Ji Lingfei saw their miserable state and could only helplessly walk over to Wang Xian to plead on their behalf. All right, you two little girls. These few people had followed Xiao Ran over after all. It was impossible for Wang Xian to kill them directly. If Huar, that little devil, continued to fight them, even if they didn't die, they would probably die soon. Wang Xian shouted at Huar speechlessly. Did this little girl have a special hobby? Hee, Daddy, let's see if I'm good. These bad guys are not my match. Huar and Kair stopped what they were doing when they heard Wang Xian's words. They turned around and looked at Wang Xian with a smug look on their faces. It was as if they wanted Wang Xian to praise them. Awesome, awesome. Wang Xian nodded his head speechlessly. Although the two little girls were awesome, they had the potential of little demons, especially the special hobby of flowers. This made Wang Xian very helpless. Hee. The two little girls were very happy when they heard Wang Xian's compliment. They opened their arms excitedly and ran towards him, wanting to hug him. You two little girls are getting bigger and heavier. Wang Xian lifted them up and touched them with his head. We are not heavy at all. We are extremely cute and beautiful. Huar said unhappily. Bang, 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 bang. At this moment, Gu Xingkong and the rest, who were entangled by the tree demon, fell to the ground. Hiss. Low groans of pain could be heard. The four of them landed on the ground in a sorry state. They did not even stand up. They supported their bodies and stood up slowly with an unsightly expression. Daddy, should we lock them up and beat them up every day? At this moment, Flower, who was being held by Wang Xian, saw them standing up slowly and looking at her. Her adorable voice rang out and entered their ears. This caused Gu Xingkong and the other three to stagger and almost fall down. A hint of panic appeared in their eyes. They looked at concubine Ji Lingfei, who was standing at the side as if she was begging for mercy. War, you don't have to lock them up. Just beat them up if you encounter any bad guys in the future. The corner of Wang Xian's mouth twitched when he heard Huar's words. All right then. Beat them up every time you see any bad guys in the future. Huar thought for a moment and nodded her head in agreement. This is a demon. A word appeared in the minds of Gu Xingkong and the other three. Their eyes were a little dazed. Let's go and play in the room. Wang Xian swept a glance at Gu Xingkong and the rest. There was no expression on his face. He carried them and returned to the villa. How is this possible? How is this possible? How can those two little fellows be so strong? Demigod level. Those two little kids are actually demigod level powerhouses. How can there be such a monstrous existence in this world? Even the peerless heaven's favorites of our boundless galaxy are not this terrifying. Seeing the two little devils being carried away, Gu Xingkong and the rest heaved a heavy sigh of relief. They looked at each other and hurriedly used their attributes to cover their bodies. Those two imps were simply too terrifying. If they were directly whipped, who would be able to take it? Those two imps seemed to be Master Xiao Ran's daughters. Suddenly, Wu Zian thought of how the two imps addressed Master Xiao Ran, and his body trembled. Master Xiao Ran's daughter? Master Xiao Ran's daughter is already so strong. At this moment, the bodies of Gu Xingkong and the others trembled once again. Just a moment ago, Gu Xingkong and the others had still wanted to challenge Xiao Ran's master and humiliate him. Now, just his two little demon daughters were already so terrifying, and they had almost killed them. Just how strong was Master Xiao Ran? Most importantly, what realm would he reach if he could nurture two daughters who were 7 or 8 years old and were at the demigod level? Gulp. The four of them gulped. They simply couldn't imagine it, and they didn't dare to imagine it either. Xiao Ran's master isn't someone you can provoke. Don't think about revenge. If there's nothing else, you can leave this place. Ji Lingfei looked at them and said indifferently. Facing the incomparably mysterious and powerful Master Xiao Ran, even she began to feel fear and dread. If they really angered Master Xiao Ran, they wouldn't even know how they died. Sister Ji Lingfei, Xiao Ran's master, how could he have such a terrifying daughter? Then his strength, wouldn't it be? Qing Qing, who was at the side, stared at Ji Lingfei with her eyes wide open. She gulped and said, "Not someone you can provoke." Ji Lingfei didn't say anything else. She turned around and walked into the villa. Hey, Sister Ji Lingfei, what should I do?" Qing Qing saw her walk in again and hurriedly called out. "Qing Qing, if you want to come with me, wait outside. If not, leave with them." Ji Lingfei said directly. "Then I'll wait for you outside." Qing Qing's face fell as she stood outside and looked at Gu Xingkong and the others. A helpless expression appeared on her face. This time, they had met a tough nut to crack. They would never have thought that there was such a terrifying existence on Earth. No, it was such a terrifying pair of imps. As for Master Xiao Ran's strength, would it be easy for him to become the father of an imp? "Let's go." Gu Xingkong's expression changed as he looked inside the villa. He shivered and said to the other people with a dark expression. The other people had gloomy expressions as they followed behind the divine sun and flew toward the west. "Brother Xingkong, don't tell me we're just going to let this go." The woman whose arm had been broken by Yao Nu suddenly roared in a low voice after flying several thousand meters. Her face was filled with unwillingness. "Ji Lingfei is there. What else can we do? Do we have to let everyone know?" Gu Xingkong's face changed. He clenched his fists and roared in a low voice. He didn't finish his words, but everyone knew what he meant. Do we have to let everyone know that they were hung up and spanked by 2 7- or 8-year-old girls, and that even their clothes were smashed? Did they still want the dignity of the son of deity and their dignity? Unless they could avenge themselves, they could only grit their teeth and swallow it. Fuck, what humiliation. Everyone's faces darkened as they left. Dragon King, Xiao Ran and his sister have woken up after consuming the fruit. Qi Tian is guiding them. At this moment, Ao Jian walked over from the courtyard of the villa and said to him, "Oh, so soon? I'll go and take a look." Wang Xian nodded his head and looked at Ji Lingfei. "Let's go together." "Yes, teacher." Ji Lingfei immediately nodded her head respectfully and followed behind him. If the people from the Soaring Heavens Palace saw her respectful manner, they would definitely be shocked. Chapter 1883. 1883. Under 1883's transformation, Ji Lingfei followed Wang Xian to the bottom of the villa. She looked at the middle-aged man who was following beside her. After all, she had once cultivated to the realm of divine fire. The moment she saw the middle-aged man, she felt that this middle-aged man was a little strange. She couldn't feel any signs of life from his body. She couldn't even feel the slightest heartbeat. Under her spiritual perception, the middle-aged man was like a sword, a human weapon. This caused her to be extremely shocked. Ever since she had entered this villa, Almost every item had caused her to be extremely shocked. Facing Xiao Ran's master, she became even more respectful. The other party's two daughters had both been resurrected by fallen gods. In front of them, she did not have the ability to be superior at all. Entering the top floor of the villa, she instantly felt that this place was like an incomparably hot furnace. It was as if there was a sun on the top floor of the villa. At the top of the villa, Xiao Ran and his sister stood there. In front of them, a demonic beast that looked like an ape stood in front of them. Beside them, there was a very special creature. It was a 1.5-meter-tall treeman with only the upper half of its body. Its branches were spread all over the place. The moment she saw the treeman, her heart trembled slightly. This was the branch that covered the entire villa. This was a plant-type demonic beast, an extremely powerful demonic beast. How is it? Wang Xian, who had come to the top floor of the villa, looked at Xiao Ran. His gaze swept across Xiao Ran's body. Master, with the help of Leader Ao just now, I have advanced to the first level of the demigod level. I have directly reached the first level of the demigod level. Furthermore, I have a feeling that I will be able to achieve a breakthrough soon. Seeing Wang Xian walking over, Xiao Ran walked over with a face full of excitement and said loudly, "The main thing that the fruit has changed is your physique. It will be very easy for you to cultivate the fire attribute in the future." Wang Xian looked at Xiao Ran's body and said faintly, "Thank you, Master, for your kindness in remaking the fruit." Xiao Ran knelt on the ground with a face full of excitement. "Get up." Wang Xian sat on the sofa at the side and asked, "Ling Xiao Palace asked you to come down. What are your plans for the future?" "Master, I originally planned to go to some ancient lands to look for opportunities. I didn't expect you to return. Next, I plan to cultivate in Jiang City for a period of time and accompany you, Master." Xiao Ran hesitated for a moment and said directly, "Yes, that's fine too. Are there any demons and monsters that have entered the city to attack humans recently? You can use them to train yourself. Stay in Jiang City for a period of time. Let Qiyin teach you too." Wang Xian thought for a moment and nodded. "Yes, Master." Xiao Ran replied happily. "All right, where are sect leader Ling and your master's mother's father, Tang Jiuqiao? Can you contact them?" Wang Xian asked Xiao Ran. "Master, we have just separated from sect leader Ling and the rest. They are heading to the Daxing Mountains to rebuild the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. Uncle Tang Jiuqiao is in the Lingxiao Treasured Palace." Xiao Ran immediately said, "I will contact them immediately. Sect leader Ling and the rest will be very happy if they know that you are still alive. Let's contact them." Wang Xian nodded. The Guan family and the Lan family had already been sent to the Transcendence continent. There were also Yinchuan's father and Feng Lingtian's father. After settling down, the group of girls calmed down. "Yes, Master." Xiao Ran replied. "Daddy, Dad, we're hungry." In less than 10 minutes, the voices of the two little girls were heard. "They're here, they're here." Wang Xian walked over helplessly with a smile on his face. "You guys can stay here and play," he said to Xiao Ran and the rest and walked downstairs. "Xiao Ran, congratulations." Ji Lingfei saw Wang Xian leaving and immediately walked to Xiao Ran's side. She sensed his strength and her eyes sparkled. "With your strength, you're not any weaker than the other divine sons. Moreover, you seem to have some powerful physique." She sized up Xiao Ran and felt the enormous fire attribute energy in his body. She was happy for him in her heart. "Yes, I feel that my sense of fire attribute energy has increased by dozens of times. Moreover, as long as I have enough energy, my strength can be raised to a terrifying level." Xiao Ran said with a fiery gaze. "Brother, now that Master is here, you don't have to worry about being worthy of Sister Ji Lingfei, right?" At this moment, Lu Mingxin suddenly said, "Mingxin, don't talk nonsense." Xiao Ran's face instantly turned red. He glared at his sister and pretended to be fierce. "Xiao Ran's master is very powerful. To have such a master is indeed your fortune, Xiao Ran. Ji Lingfei's eyes sparkled. It was very interesting to see the shy Xiao Ran, so she said with a smile. Yes, it's all because of Master that I was able to reach this stage. In the future, I can't lose face for Master. He clenched his fists tightly and said with a firm gaze. In the territory of our Heaven Palm sect, there are no noble families and aristocrats. All living things are equal. Those who have the strength and qualifications to join our Heaven Palm sect are the noble families and aristocrats. Everything else is just petty. Today, our Sky Palm sect has established the Sky Palm Academy in Jiang City. Those who pass the test can enter our Sky Palm Academy. The elites of the Sky Palm Academy can join our Sky Palm sect. Our Sky Palm Academy has entered and is guarding the safety of Jiang City. Everyone in Jiang City must listen to our orders. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded throughout Jiang City. The millions of people in River City heard it clearly. At the top of the villa, Xiao Ran, Ji Lingfei, and the others were slightly stunned. They looked toward the center of River City. It seems that some disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace have begun to establish their own forces. Xiao Ran looked over, and his face revealed a thoughtful expression. The Heaven Palm sect seems to have been established by the fourth son of God, Zhou Tian, and 2 experts on the God Ascension list. Now, establishing a force on Earth is a very good choice. Perhaps, with a great opportunity, you will be able to obtain a supreme treasure and become a god. Ji Lingfei said slightly from the side. Lu Mingxin nodded in agreement. However, Xiao Ran, there's no need for you. With your master around, your future won't be any worse than mine. Ji Lingfei stared at Xiao Ran with a face full of smiles and said. She also sensed the increase in Xiao Ran's strength and the changes in his body. Although she did not know the details of the changes in Xiao Ran's physique, she could still feel the strength of his physique. Things like physique were also unusually rare for godly state experts. The current Xiao Ran was also worthy of her in the future. I can't rely on my master for everything. Xiao Ran's eyes flickered with a luster, and traces of ambition slowly grew. In the past, he had relied on his master to become the #1 expert under the Dragon Palace on Earth. After his master left, he was only an ordinary disciple in the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. Now that his master had returned, it gave him a great opportunity and allowed him to have strength comparable to a divine son. However, he could not completely rely on his master. He had to prove himself. Chapter 1884 1884 Xiao Ran's Dragon Gate 1. Brother, what do you want to do? On the roof of the villa, Lu Mingxin looked at her brother's strange expression. As her younger sister who had lived together for more than 20 years, she naturally knew her brother very well. I want to make a difference. Even if I can't be like Master, I want to shine on this planet. Xiao Ran's eyes revealed a firm expression. He had the fortune that no one else had, and he had a powerful and invincible master. Under such circumstances, he could no longer make any achievements. He, Xiao Ran, was too incompetent. Oh, I do support Xiao Ran in establishing his own faction. Moreover, with your strength, you can compete with a group of divine sons and heaven's favorites. Ji Lingfei's eyes lit up as she spoke in agreement to Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran was slightly silent, and his heart was also slightly excited. This was a bright era. The divine sons and heaven's favorites competed for glory. Everyone had the chance to become gods and become ancestors, standing at the peak of this era. He, Xiao Ran, was not weaker than others. If you want to establish a faction, you need to have your own people now. This may require you to display some of your strength and make people come over to join you. You can also recruit some of the elite experts on Earth. Many of the elite experts on Earth are not weaker than the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, especially those heaven's favorites. Moreover, when the time comes, I will also join your faction. I will help you. Ji Lingfei stood there and said to him with a smile on her face. This is just my idea. I still have to consider the specifics. Xiao Ran looked at Ji Lingfei and smiled at her. Hee hee, the three of us as a family can do anything well. Lu Mingxin looked at her brother and Ji Lingfei. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly as she grabbed their hands. Ji Lingfei held them with a face full of smiles. Apart from Xiao Ran's slightly red face, there was also some anticipation in his eyes. In the past, he could not match up to Ji Lingfei in terms of both strength and background. But now, his master had returned, giving him great confidence. I need to inform sect leader Ling and Uncle Tang first. Xiao Ran thought of his master's matter and immediately took out his phone to contact the two. When they heard the news, excitement appeared on their faces. Sect leader Ling only had one son, and Tang Jiuqiao only had one daughter. They had not seen each other for more than 10 years, and they had missed each other for a long time. Master, I have already informed sect leader Ling and Uncle Tang. If nothing unexpected happens, they will be able to arrive by this evening. The three of them walked to the hall on the first floor of the villa. Xiao Ran walked over and said, "Oh, have you contacted them? That's good. If you are staying here temporarily, tell Qinglong to get someone to build a house around here." Wang Xian nodded and instructed Xiao Ran. "Yes, master." Xiao Ran nodded and asked, "Master, where are the other disciples of the Dragon Gate?" "They should have moved to this area. I have already disbanded the Dragon Gate. Many of them are already married and have children. We can't let them fight and kill anymore." Wang Xian smiled. He had already informed the demonic green dragon to have the group of draconids move to the nearby area. It was not easy to build a room now. It would be completed in a few days. They should be coming to the area in the next few days. The Dragon Gate has disbanded? Xiao Ran looked thoughtful when he heard Wang Xian's words. "Have you guys eaten? If not, come and eat something." Wang Xian looked at the two little girls who were eating at the table and said to Xiao Ran and the rest, "There's no need, master. We had already eaten when we came." Xiao Ran shook his head. "Tell me about Earth after I left." Wang Xian nodded and gestured for them to sit down before he spoke to Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran immediately told him about what happened on Earth after he left. Time passed slowly, and they chatted for 4 to 5 hours. Dragon King. In the afternoon, sect leader Ling Xiao and Tang Yinchuan's father, Tang Jiuqiao, arrived one after another. "It's good that you're all right, it's good that you're all right." They heaved a heavy sigh of relief when they heard Wang Xian say that Windling Tian, Tang Yinxian, and the rest were safe and sound. Sect leader Ling, father-in-law, Yinxian, Windling Tian, and the rest were unable to come because of their cultivation. "Why don't you guys go over and visit them?" Wang Xian said to sect leader Ling and Tang Jiuqiao. "Little Xian, we haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. I want to visit Yinxian." Tang Jiuqiao immediately replied. After he finished speaking, he looked at sect leader Ling. Sect leader Ling was a little hesitant. "It's not that I don't want to see Ling Tian and the rest, but I still have a bunch of subordinates following me. I was planning to establish the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect again." "Sect leader, why don't you hand over the sect brothers to me?" At this moment, Xiao Ran, who was standing at the side, hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Xiao Ran? You want to establish a faction?" Sect leader Ling was slightly stunned as he looked at Xiao Ran in astonishment. "I have this plan, but it hasn't been decided yet." Xiao Ran nodded. Sect leader Ling pondered for a moment before looking at Ji Lingfei, who was beside Xiao Ran. "All right, to be honest, with the strength of a few hundred of us, even if we rebuild the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect, it would only be a nameless small sect. Speaking of which, I'm not afraid of you laughing at us, Xiao Ran. We occupied a mountain peak in the Daxing Mountains, but in the end, we were chased away. Now that your strength has increased, you still have Miss Ji to help you. It's much better for them to follow you than to follow me." Sect leader Ling decided and immediately stood up. "I'll talk to my brothers outside." "Yes, sect, I'll go with you." Xiao Ran stood up and followed sect leader Ling out. When the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect joined the Lingxiao Treasured Palace, other than the other teams in the middle, there were still over 200 people who were accepted as disciples by the experts of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. Most of these 200 people were at the peak of the 9th rank and the 9th rank. There were only 20 or so people at the Profound Void Realm. This strength was considered relatively weak in the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. However, on Earth, every one of them was a pretty good expert. Qingyan, take them back to the Dragon Palace and let Prime Minister Gui take good care of them. The disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect did not have much objection to following Xiao Ran. After all, Xiao Ran was also a disciple of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect in the past and was once the strongest person in the sect. After settling the matter, Wang Xian asked Ao Qitian to bring sect leader Ling, Tang Jiuqiao, and the rest to the Transcendence Continent. At this point, apart from Ajaya, the matter with the girls had been settled. Everyone in Jiang City who is above level 7 of Transcendence, come to the entrance of the Song Group building within 10 minutes. The Heaven's Palm sect has something to announce. In the evening, just as Ao Qitian left with sect leader Ling and the rest, a voice resounded across the entire Jiang City once again. Huh! This made Wang Xian slightly stunned. This voice sounded once in the afternoon. This was the second time. Chapter 1885. 1885 Dragon Gate 2 1885. What happened? In the villa, Wang Xian asked Mo Qinglong who was beside him. Dragon King, they are some powerhouses from the Ling Xiao Treasured Palace. They have established a Heaven Palm Academy in Jiang City. They should announce their strength at noon today. Why did they gather all the people in the city who are above Transcendent Level 7 this time? Mo Qinglong, who was standing at the side, also spoke with a half-understanding tone. Heaven Palm Academy? Then let's go and take a look. There's nothing to do here anyway. Wang Xian stood up and said to Mo Qinglong. Since there was nothing to do in the villa, he still had to go and take a look at Jiang City after such a major incident. It's the Dragon King. Mo Qinglong nodded. Master, let's go and take a look as well. The one who established the Heaven Palm sect is Zhou Tian, the fourth son of deity on the God Ascension Board, and 2 powerhouses on the God Ascension Board. Zhou Tian has the strength of a level 1 demigod. The other 2 powerhouses on the God Ascension list are stronger. One of them is a level 3 demigod while the other one is a level 4 demigod. There should be some other demigod powerhouses. Xiao Ran also heard this voice. When he saw that Wang Xian wanted to go over and take a look, he immediately said, Okay. Wang Xian nodded and walked out of the villa. Hua Er Kai, let's go. Daddy will bring you guys out to play. Wang Xian shouted at the 2 little guys who were playing on the slide formed by the branches of the villa. Let's go out to play. Kiki, Daddy, catch me. Hua Er immediately revealed an excited expression. Kai Er slid down from the top of the villa. Hua Er, the little girl, jumped down mischievously and stretched out her arms for Wang Xian to catch her. Wang Xian had a deep understanding of Hua's mischievousness the moment she whipped him. He stretched out his hand helplessly and caught the little girl. He placed her on the ground and held one in each hand. Let's go, Wang Xian said as he walked towards the center of Jiang City. Dragon King. Let's go and take a look too. Let's go, let's go. I'm really envious of those powerful divine sons and powerhouses on the God Ascension Board. With their strength, they can occupy a city and recruit disciples. In the courtyard, a group of disciples who followed sect leader Ling gathered in the courtyard of the villa. When they saw Wang Xian and the rest coming out, they immediately shouted respectfully in unison and followed closely behind. The group of people walked towards the center of the city outside. Quick, quick, the Heaven Palm sect has moved into our Jiang City and established the Heaven Palm Academy. In the future, the entire Jiang City will respect them. Let's hurry over. I wonder what they have to announce and gather all the powerhouses in the city. Who knows? In the past 2 days, The few million disciples of the precious palace of skyscraping have occupied the divine mountains and ancient lands in various cities. They have established sects, and academies to develop their own forces. I guess they are trying to recruit some people. Along the way, one by one, they rushed to the center of the city. The sounds of conversation entered their ears. Wang Xian and the rest were not in a hurry. He just wanted to see what the powerhouses of the Heaven Palm sect had to announce. When they rushed over, they realized that there were already hundreds of thousands of people gathered in front of the Song Group building. There were only a few thousand people in the center. These few thousand people were people whose strength had reached at least level 7 of the supernatural realm in Jiang City. More than 1,000 people stood in the center, led by the Song family. Hundreds of thousands of people came to watch the show. In the sky in front of the Song Corporation building, a group of more than 100 people floated in the sky. The leader was a young man in golden clothing. The young man wore a crown, and on the crown, there were 2 words, "In control of the sky." The young man had an imposing bearing, and the corners of his head were lofty. He was like a shooting star in the night sky, very eye-catching. I didn't expect the 4th son of deity to come to our Jiang city in person. Son of deity of Zhou Tian. The aura from him is so powerful. When they came to the front, Wang Xian and the rest heard the whispers around them. They did not go to the center but stood in the crowd behind them. 10 minutes have passed. I believe everyone knows my name. I am Zhou Tian, son of deity of the Lingshao treasured palace. At this moment, Zhou Tian, who was floating in the center, raised his head slightly and swept his gaze over the thousands of people in the center. I established the Heaven Palm sect with 2 experts on the God Sealing role. Now, I am stationed in Jiang City to establish the Heaven Palm Academy. From now on, I am the king of Jiang City. Do you have any objections? He looked down at the thousands of Jiang City experts and asked indifferently. No objections. Zhou Tian's divine son, we have no objections at all. In the center, everyone heard his words and immediately replied. With Zhou Tian's strength, he was completely invincible in Jiang City. They had no time to curry favor with him, so how could they object? The Song family members standing at the very front raised their brows slightly when they heard his words, but they didn't say anything. If you don't object, then our Heaven Palm sect will set the rules. Now, you should know that with the appearance of the dark ancient land, evil spirits and monsters will run rampant. Jiang City may soon fall into a crisis. Our Heaven's Palm sect will be stationed in Jiang City, so naturally, we will protect the safety of this city. We will select a group of Heaven's Palm Academy's security guards from among you to be responsible for protecting the safety of the academy and the city. Those who join our Heaven's Palm Academy will become Jiang City's aristocrats, and will receive the protection of our Heaven's Palm sect. Zhou Tian set the rules high and mighty. Hearing Zhou Tian's words, the thousands of people in the center looked pensive and hesitant. Being the security guard of the Sky Palm Academy had its pros and cons. This made many people look hesitant. The Sky Palm Academy will be led by the Song family. It will be established in half a month. At that time, we will recruit elite disciples to join. Zhou Tian stood there and continued to speak, his tone filled with an unquestionable tone. He wasn't seeking the opinions of the others, but was giving orders. When I become a god and become the ancestor, you will all be my living beings, and you will be honored for me. Zhou Tian waved his arms, and streams of golden light shot out from his body, his face filled with pride. A powerful aura spread out in all directions. In the center, the experts of Jiang City held their breaths and immediately lowered their heads. Everyone around trembled slightly under this aura and bowed. Are all divine sons so arrogant? Becoming gods and ancestors? The king of Jiang City? Wang Xian looked at Zhou Tian in the sky and shook his head in amusement. Young man, quickly lower your head. If you have the ability, you can do it too. On earth now, the strong are the most respected. If you are seen by the Son of Deity, he will kill you with a wave of his hand. Wang Xian's words were heard by the middle-aged man. He glanced at him and said immediately, "He is not qualified to be the king of Jiang City." As soon as the middle-aged man finished his sentence, Xiao Ran's voice came from the side. He is not qualified. Could it be that this kid is qualified? The middle-aged man sneered when he heard Xiao Ran's words. "Master, I want to establish a force." Xiao Ran ignored the middle-aged man and looked at Wang Xian. His eyes were filled with ambition and arrogance. The path of cultivation was a struggle with the heavens. Someone dared to claim the title of king in Jiang City. Xiao Ran felt that he didn't have the qualifications yet. Son of deity, what's the harm? Chapter 1886. 1886 Xiao Ran's Dragon Gate 3. So what if he was the son of deity? Xiao Ran's personality was similar to Wang Xian's. If no one provoked them, they would not take the initiative to provoke others. He had the idea of establishing a force, but this idea was just a fledgling and was not completely certain. Now, when he saw the Zhou Tian son of deity floating proudly in the sky in front of them, looking down at all of them and saying that he wanted to be the king, Xiao Ran's eyes turned cold. A cold look appeared in his eyes. In the eyes of Xiao Ran, he didn't have the qualifications to be the king of Jiang City. His master had disbanded the Dragon Gate and didn't want to interfere in anything. However, this didn't mean that there were no tigers or monkeys in the mountains who could be the king. The king of Jiang City wasn't something that anyone could do just because they wanted to. Oh! When Wang Xian heard Xiao Ran's words, he raised his eyebrows slightly. You want to establish a force? Sure. He smiled at Xiao Ran and said immediately, Master, I want to establish an academy. Not only can I establish my own force, but I can also nurture some strong people. Since the Dragon Gate has been disbanded, I will establish a Dragon Gate Academy. Xiao Ran said to him while his eyes flashed with a fiery glow. Up to you. Wang Xian shook his head nonchalantly. If you want to establish your own academy, I won't help you. You can handle some matters yourself. As he spoke, he looked at the son of deity of Zhou Tian who was floating in the air in front of him. There was no expression on his face. If Xiao Ran wanted to establish the Longmen Academy in Jiang City, he had to get rid of this son of deity in front of him first. Xiao Ran, I support you. You can be the headmaster of the academy, and I can be the deputy headmaster. Ji Lingfei, who was at the side, heard their conversation. Her eyes flickered with interest as she immediately said, Big brother, I support you too. Lu Mingxin also clenched her fists at Xiao Ran, expressing her support for him. Behind them, the former disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect also nodded in agreement. Good. Xiao Ran looked at them and nodded heavily. He raised his head and looked at Zhou Tian, who was floating in the sky with full of fighting spirit. In 10 days, our Heaven Palm sect will hold the sect-establishing ceremony. At that time, all of you experts from Jiang City will come to watch. At this moment, Zhou Tian's voice sounded again. He was still extremely powerful and ordered a group of experts above the 7th rank to attend the sect-establishing ceremony. Your Heaven Palm sect is not qualified to be the king of Jiang City. The king of Jiang City is not you either. Yang Mei, you really? At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out, causing everyone around to be slightly stunned. The middle-aged man who spoke beside Wang Xian opened his mouth slightly and revealed a shocked expression. He stared at Xiao Ran with a face full of shock. His eyes were also wide open. Huh? Xiao Ran's sudden words caused everyone around to be slightly stunned. They quickly looked over with a face full of shock. There was actually someone who dared to openly fight against the son of deity of the Lingshao treasured palace. This was an extremely powerful son of deity. Who is he? Who is this young man? He actually dared to fight against the 4th-ranked son of deity of the Lingshao treasured palace? Everyone around was shocked when they saw Xiao Ran, who dared to fight against the divine son of the Lingshao treasured palace. Zhou Tian's expression turned cold when he saw Xiao Ran. His ice-cold gaze locked onto Xiao Ran. If I remember correctly, you seem to be that Xiao Ran. He narrowed his eyes, and a cold light flickered in them. If I'm not qualified to be the king of Jiang City, then you, trash, are even less qualified. Zhou Tian smiled eerily. He had some impression of Xiao Ran in the past, but now he had completely forgotten about this small figure. Boom boom. At this moment, the 100+ experts of the Lingxiao treasured palace behind him all looked at Xiao Ran in unison, their auras locked onto him. I'll give you 3 seconds to get out of our sight. A middle-aged man stared at Xiao Ran and said emotionlessly. Although the Lingxiao treasured palace forbade its disciples from killing each other, as long as no one died, and the enforcers of the Lingxiao treasured palace, the heavenly soldiers and generals, didn't know about it, everything would be fine. The prohibition was only on the surface. That young man? At this moment, at the front of the center, the people of the Song family saw Xiao Ran and Wang Xian standing behind him. They were slightly stunned. That's the disciple of the Dragon King. Old Xin and Old Shui said in a low voice. From the beginning to the end, there was only one king in Jiang City, and that was the Dragon King. As the disciple of the Dragon King, Xiao Ran has the right to say that. Old Song's eyes sparkled. He looked at Xiao Ran and said with a smile on his face. Huh? What's going on? What's going on in the Song family? The Dragon King? The disciple of the Dragon King? When Elder Song's voice rang out, everyone was slightly shocked. Some people were in a daze. The Dragon King. This name was the only king in Jiang City back then. However, they did not expect that the young man was the Dragon King's disciple. And the Song family was actually speaking up for the Dragon King's disciple. A disciple inheriting the master's position is indeed not bad. Ji Lingfei slowly walked out and came to Xiao Ran's side, staring at Zhou Tian. That's right. In Jiang City, who doesn't know about the Dragon King? Even if the Dragon King doesn't become king, only the Dragon King's disciple is qualified. The former disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect walked out one by one, and more than 200 people walked behind Xiao Ran. What? There are so many people around the disciple of the Dragon King? Are they fighting for territory? At this moment, all the people in the surrounding river city looked at Xiao Ran and his group of experts in astonishment. The Song family openly supported the appearance of the disciple of the Dragon King. They swallowed their saliva in surprise and stared blankly at the side. Concubine Ji Lingfei. Zhou Tian was slightly stunned when he saw concubine Ji Lingfei's appearance, and then his face darkened. He slowly looked down with a murderous look on his face. Ji Lingfei, are you going to make an enemy out of our Heaven Palm sect? His eyes flickered as he stared at Ji Lingfei. So what? Ji Lingfei smiled faintly. Song family, are you going to rebel? Zhou Tian's gaze turned colder and colder when he heard Ji Lingfei's words, and he looked down at the Song family members. Your Heaven Palm sect is not the royal family. Why are you rebelling? And you are too powerful. Do you really treat us as your subjects? Besides, your strength is not enough to drive us. Elder Song said indifferently. As he spoke, he walked directly toward Xiao Ran's position. The members of the Song family immediately followed him. The members of the Shui and Qin families did not hesitate at all and followed him indifferently. This scene is so familiar. The Dragon King used to be accompanied by all the major families in Jiang City. Now, the disciple of the Dragon King still has the support of all the major families in Jiang City. Some of the elders around saw this scene and murmured in a daze. More than 10 years ago, the Dragon King was the king of Jiang City. More than 10 years later, his disciple wanted to succeed him. Chapter 1887. 1887 Xiao Ran's Dragon Gate 4. The wind rose and the clouds surged. Xiao Ran led a group of people and faced Zhou Tian's group from afar. The surrounding atmosphere began to freeze. Zhou Tian and the group of disciples from the soaring heavens treasured palace behind him revealed gloomy expressions. Especially when they saw the larger clans of Jiang City standing directly behind Xiao Ran, their expressions were incomparably ugly. On ancient Earth, if you stand in the wrong position, your entire family will be executed. Do you know that? Zhou Tian stared coldly at the Song, Shui, and Qin families. The killing intent in his tone was not concealed at all. Xiao Ran, are you sure you want to provoke my Heaven Palm sect? Don't think that with Ji Lingfei around, we won't dare to do anything to you. He swept a sinister glance at Xiao Ran and the others as he threatened. Zhou Tian, since I dare to fight with you for River City, do you think that I'm afraid of you? Xiao Ran laughed loudly when he heard his threat. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a blazing flame started to rise in the sky above him, enveloping the entire sky in flames. Boom! Sensing Xiao Ran's aura, Zhou Tian's pupils constricted slightly, and the aura on his body trembled as well. A streak of golden light rushed over from behind him and similarly covered another part of the sky. The powerful aura of the two enveloped the entire Jiang City. First-level demigod? When did you advance to first-level demigod? Zhou Tian's gaze was fixed on Xiao Ran as he roared in a low voice. You don't need to know. Xiao Ran's body slowly floated into the sky, facing Zhou Tian and Xiao Ran from afar. Bang bang bang. Just you alone want to make an enemy out of our entire Heaven Palm sect. The auras of the middle-aged young men behind Zhou Tian also trembled as waves of profound void stage experts' auras were released. Of course, there are also some clans in our River City. Back then, even someone as powerful as the Dragon King, who had suppressed us for an entire lifetime, did not order us around like this. You want to order us around just because of a newly established sect. Elder Song's aura was also completely released. An aura that belonged to a peak stage profound void martial artist soared into the sky. At the same time, his granddaughter, Song Hanshuang, also erupted with the strength of a peak stage profound void martial artist. Behind him, Song Hanyu's strength wasn't weak either. What? How is this possible? The Song family actually concealed their strength. Elder Song and that girl from the Song family are actually so powerful. Oh my god, Song Hanyu isn't the strongest in the Song family. The Song family actually concealed their strength so deeply. Doesn't the other girl from the Song family have strength comparable to a chosen divine son? When the Song family's strength completely erupted, everyone in Jiang City was shocked. They stared at the Song family in disbelief. This strength could be ranked in the top 5 on Earth before the disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace arrived. A small Jiang City actually has such a powerful family. The expressions of the profound void martial experts behind Zhou Tian changed slightly, and a trace of solemnity appeared on their faces. Zhou Tian, Jiang City belongs to us. Ji Lingfei raised her head slightly and said to Zhou Tian with a smile on her face. The strength that they had displayed now could already cause Zhou Tian to be fearful. It could even cause the entire Heaven Palm sect to be fearful. Even if it was a faction established by the disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace, it could be ranked among the top. Good. I really didn't expect that there would be such a strong person in such a small Jiang City. Zhou Tian's expression was extremely gloomy when he saw the strength that Xiao Ran and the Song family had displayed. Jiang City was only a small city. It was not in line with the development of the Heaven's Palm sect to provoke such a strong enemy for the sake of a small Jiang City. This time I'll remember it, Xiao Ran. We have plenty of time in the future. Zhou Tian clenched his fists. Let's go. He growled with a sullen face and turned to fly into the distance. Fourth divine son of the God Ascension list, don't be so anxious. I, Xiao Ran, still want to challenge you. Just as Zhou Tian turned around, Xiao Ran's voice sounded. Xiao Ran's body moved and flew several thousand meters into the sky, staring down at Zhou Tian from above. Come and fight. His face was full of fighting spirit as he roared. Ha ha ha, Xiao Ran, do you want to defeat me and become famous in one battle? I admit that it's not bad that your cultivation base has reached the first level of the demigod rank, but you're challenging me. Zhou Tian suddenly turned around, and numerous sharp swords floated around him. Under his feet, a huge golden sword that was 10 meters long and 3 meters wide appeared. The huge sword was emitting a dazzling sharpness. From afar, one could feel an incomparably powerful sharpness. Fight. Xiao Ran looked at Zhou Tian turning around and laughed out loud as well. He raised both his hands, and a flaming mountain peak appeared in the sky above him. The flaming mountain peak that was 20 to 30 kilometers tall appeared out of thin air. Everyone within a radius of a few hundred kilometers could see it clearly. Today, I will teach you a good lesson and let you know the strength of my Zhou Tian. When Zhou Tian saw the incomparably huge flaming mountain peak, he narrowed his eyes slightly. Slash! He let out a soft cry and the 10-meter-long sword beneath him charged forward. With a terrifying speed, it turned into a length of 10,000 meters. A golden light streaked across the sky. Fire Sky Peak. Xiao Ran raised the incomparably huge fire mountain peak with both hands, smashing it towards the golden long sword. At the same time, he grabbed at the air, and clusters of fire clouds appeared in the air in front of him. With a wave of his arm, they instantly covered the entire sky. Bang! The Fire Sky Peak collided with the sharp sword, and the entire Fire Sky Peak directly exploded. The 10,000-meter-long sharp sword also dissipated in the explosion. What a fast rate of flame release! Zhou Tian's eyes flashed with surprise when he saw the fire cloud attack. He swept a glance at the exploding fiery peak, and with a wave of his hand, a golden dart appeared in his hand. The dart was the size of a palm, and it was emitting a terrifying light. 0-point edge. He waved his arm, and the dart brought with it a bright light as it directly attacked the fire clouds. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The dart pierced through the fire clouds and continued to attack Xiao Ran. Control, fire meteorite. Seeing the dart attacking him, Xiao Ran's expression did not change at all. He waved his hands, and the fire mountain that had exploded in the air earlier turned into meteorites. The flaming meteorites that had affected an area of dozens of kilometers swept across the sky. Damn it, what kind of control is this? He can actually wave an attack that has been scattered. Seeing the countless flaming meteorites heading toward him, his pupils constricted slightly, and his expression slowly became unsightly. This is a battle between demigods? Hiss, the Dragon King's disciple is so strong. He can actually fight against the Son of Deity. This is too terrifying. With such destructive power, it's too easy for a demigod to destroy an entire city. Below, everyone in Jiang City was watching the battle in the sky with a look of shock on their faces. A battle between demigods was terrifying. Wang Xian stood below, holding the hands of the two girls as he watched indifferently. It had been more than 10 years. It was not bad for his disciple to inherit his position in Jiang City. This was once his starting point. Hopefully, it was also Xiao Ran's starting point today. Chapter 1888. 1888 Xiao Ran's Dragon Gate 5. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying explosion sounded in the sky above Jiang City. Countless fire meteorites streaked across the sky, leaving a huge trail as they smashed towards Zhou Tian. At this moment, Zhou Tian's entire body was emitting an incomparably dazzling golden light. Every light could easily pierce through the fire meteorites. He was like a golden god of war shining in the sky, directly attacking Xiao Ran. Flame, Tathagata. Xiao Ran's expression did not change as he looked at Zhou Tian, who was rapidly attacking him. He slowly raised his hand. Boom! A towering figure appeared behind him. The shadow formed by flames was like the Tathagata Buddha in the myths and novels. The gigantic figure, which was at least 100,000 meters tall, slowly raised its palm and slapped towards Zhou Tian. Damn it, every attack is a large-scale attack. Does he have an endless supply of spiritual energy? Zhou Tian's face darkened when he saw the gigantic palm that almost covered the sky. Dharma idol, Ling Shao flying knife slash. With a gloomy face, he roared and his body was instantly covered by a golden flying knife that was thousands of meters in size. He waved his arm, and the golden flying knives that surrounded him immediately turned into palm-sized blades that pierced towards the flaming palm. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Countless terrifying blades directly pierced through the palm and attacked Xiao Ran's body. Buzz! When Xiao Ran saw Zhou Tian using his Dharma idol, his expression froze as he slowly waved his left palm. The flame Tathagata behind him once again extended his palm and swung it toward the countless flying knives. At the same time, he withdrew his right palm and slowly extended it. Following this action, the flame Tathagata behind him shrunk in size. The shattered right palm gathered together and continued to attack Zhou Tian as Xiao Ran swung it. Two incomparably huge palms once again attacked Zhou Tian. However, this wasn't the end. He continued to wave his palms. 1 palm, 2 palms, 3 palms, 10 palms. 10 enormous flaming palms shot toward Zhou Tian one after another. How is this possible? How can a level 1 demigod be able to control flames like this? Zhou Tian's expression changed dramatically as he watched the terrifying palms coming toward him one after another. I can't take it head-on. Zhou Tian's body moved and he hurriedly dodged to the side. Fire chains. Xiao Ran saw that Zhou Tian wanted to dodge and his right leg shook lightly. Wang! A fire cloud appeared under his feet and spread towards his surroundings. Walala! Following that, under everyone's shocked gazes, fire cloud chains extended out from the fire cloud. The chains directly headed toward Zhou Tian to seal him. Damn it, how can he be so strong? How can he hide for so long? Zhou Tian's expression darkened when he saw the chains that were more than 10 kilometers long heading toward him. A hint of panic appeared in his eyes. He was the divine son ranked 4th in the Lingshao treasured palace. Now, he had actually lost to the unknown Xiao Ran. With your strength, why don't you get on the God Ascension list? Why don't you become a divine son? Zhou Tian shouted at Xiao Ran with an embarrassed expression. Getting on the God Ascension list and becoming a divine son had enormous benefits. Status was secondary. Resources could be obtained in many ways. So what if I'm not a divine son and won't get on the God Ascension list if I defeat you? Xiao Ran waved his arm, and countless chains covered the sky. In the sky, those huge palms also covered him. The sky and the earth were completely sealed. Xiao Ran's control over the flames is terrifying. He can control the flames so well without releasing his Dharma idol. What kind of physique does he have? He's so abnormal. Everyone in River City watched the battle from below, their faces filled with shock. Ji Lingfei looked at Xiao Ran's attacks one after another, and she was also slightly shocked. After Xiao Ran consumed the fruit given by his master, he became much stronger, especially his control over the flames. This was completely crushing existences of the same level. Unfortunately, she did not know much about the physique. She did not know that Xiao Ran's current physique was the strongest physique with the fire attribute in the universe, the origin of fire. So strong. That Dragon King's disciple is so powerful. He can actually suppress the Divine Sun and fight all the time. As expected of the Dragon King's disciple. The people from Jiang City below were also looking at the battle in the sky in shock. Walala! The loud sound of the flame chains in the sky spread across the entire Jiang City sky, completely sealing Zhou Tian. Ling Shao flying knife chop, chop for me. Zhou Tian's expression was extremely ugly. With a furious roar, he transformed into a flying knife and slashed towards the chains. Crack crack crack. The chains broke one by one, but his speed was still a little slower. In the sky, a palm gradually descended. More than 10 incomparably huge palms covered Zhou Tian in succession. Pooh! He spat out fresh blood and a cloth strip appeared on his body. On the strip of cloth, the 3 words, God Ascension Roll flickered with a luster and helped him block more than half of the attacks. However, even so, as the palms fell one by one, Zhou Tian still spat out blood, and his body fell downwards. Zhou Tian, you've lost. Xiao Ran floated in the air, staring at him without the slightest fluctuation in his expression as he said condescendingly, I lost. When Zhou Tian heard this, he raised his head and looked up at Xiao Ran. His expression changed drastically. His extremely miserable body was filled with black burn marks. Let's go. Zhou Tian glared fiercely at Xiao Ran and growled in a low voice. Then he turned around and left. Go! The rest of the disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace who followed Zhou Tian looked at Xiao Ran in surprise. Then they turned around and left. Xiao Ran looked at their departing figures and a smile appeared on his face. His body moved and he arrived in the sky in front of the Song clan group. He looked down at everyone in Jiang City. He took a deep breath as a trace of fighting spirit flickered in his eyes. Today I, Xiao Ran, will establish the Dragon Gate Academy in Jiang City. Those with talent can enter the academy to cultivate. In the future, the Dragon Gate Academy will guard Jiang City's safety and enter the Dragon Gate Academy as a student of the Dragon Gate Academy. I will light the divine fire together with you. Xiao Ran's voice resounded in everyone's mind. I will discuss the specific matters of the Dragon Gate Academy with the various families in Jiang City. He spoke slowly without much arrogance. However, when he defeated the 4th son of deity from the Lingxiao palace, everyone knew that he had the ability to do so. Even if he didn't say that he was the king of Jiang City, in everyone's heart, they had already tacitly acknowledged him. Dragon Gate Academy? Below, Wang Xian listened to the forces established by Xiao Ran. He mumbled and smiled faintly. Chapter 1889. 1889 Demonic Invasion. The Dragon King's disciple has returned. Dragon Gate Academy? It really reminds people of the Dragon King from more than 10 years ago. Grandpa, who is the Dragon King? Is the Dragon King powerful? Of course he's powerful. At that time, the Dragon King was invincible and suppressed the world for a lifetime. At that time, the Dragon King came from our river city. Unfortunately, he disappeared more than 10 years ago. Do you think that if the Dragon King was still alive, would he still be invincible? Would he even be able to suppress the Lingxiao treasure palace? How is that possible? Although the Dragon King was very strong at that time, he could not compare to the Lingxiao treasure palace. After all, the gods in the Lingxiao treasure palace had lived for tens of thousands of years. How long did the Dragon King live? After Xiao Ran announced the establishment of the Dragon Gate Academy, everyone who had gathered in the city center dispersed. However, Xiao Ran's appearance reminded the entire Jiang City of the Dragon King in the past. That was the existence that was invincible at the beginning of the recovery of spiritual energy. That was the myth of that era. In that era, as long as one could have a relationship with the Dragon King, one would be above others and be respected. Now, the disciple of the Dragon King had established the Dragon Gate Academy in Jiang City and gained the support of everyone in Jiang City. In the past, the Dragon King was the glory of Jiang City. Now that the disciple of the Dragon King was the king of Jiang City, he could be considered to have inherited the position of master. Xiao Ran also had the ability to inherit the position. Walking from the center of the city to the villa by the sea, Wang Xian heard the discussions around him and revealed a faint smile on his face. It had been more than 10 years. It seemed that everyone in Jiang City had not forgotten about him. Daddy, is the Dragon King that they are talking about you? Kaya raised her head and asked Wang Xian. Yes. How is it? Isn't Daddy cool? Wang Xian smiled at Kaya and patted her head. Ichimich bad Daddy. You said that you would bring us to play, but now you're bringing us to watch others fight. It's boring. Hua said unhappily at the side. It's getting dark. It's time to go back to sleep. Wang Xian carried Kair and squatted down to signal to Hua. Hee, Daddy, raise it high. Wang Xian raised Kair. The flower on his back also wanted to sit on his neck. Hua, look at how big you are. Do you still want to be Daddy's neck? Wang Xian said speechlessly. Yes. I'm not old at all. Giddy up. Hua grabbed Wang Xian's hair and said cheerfully. Wang Xian smiled and led them to the villa. He did not return with Xiao Ran and the rest. Xiao Ran was discussing the establishment of the Long Men Academy with the former disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect and the Song family. As they walked, the people of Jiang City around them were discussing. The people around them didn't expect that the Dragon King they were talking about was right beside them. After they returned to the villa and played with the two little girls for a while, they coaxed them to sleep. Wang Xian was also sitting in front of the computer and playing games out of boredom. Not to mention, after he had been away for more than 10 years, there were some fun games that allowed him to pass the time. At this moment, Xiao Ran's defeat of the fourth divine son caused a huge sensation on the internet. In these few days, several million disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace came to the land and occupied a part of the land. Every divine son, every expert on the God Ascension list, united or single-handedly occupied a part of the land and established their own strength. When all the heroes came together, even those heaven's favorites could only join hands to contend with the divine sons. Several heaven's favorites had fallen in the past few days. Today, Xiao Ran, a disciple of the Lingxiao treasured palace, defeated the fourth divine son and arrived at the Long Men Academy. Whether on Earth or for the disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace, it was an extremely sensational matter. Everyone was clear about the strength of the fourth divine son, Zhou Tian. Being able to defeat Zhou Tian represented Xiao Ran's strength. Among the younger generation of disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace, he could be ranked in the top 5. This was definitely a strength that could not be underestimated. The Dragon Gate Academy had also entered everyone's sights. Especially when the disciples of the Lingxiao treasured palace knew that Ji Lingfei was also in this faction. Time passed slowly. Xiao Ran was busy with the establishment of the Dragon Gate Academy all day long. The Qin family, Shui family, and Song family had built villas around Wang Xian. The disciples of Dragon Gate had also moved over. 10 days later, the construction of Dragon Gate Academy was basically completed. Dragon Gate Academy had been disbanded. The group of Draconids who were fine had joined Dragon Gate Academy. They joined the academy to be teachers. There were more than 40 Draconids in total. Each of them had the strength of a peak-stage insightful emptiness realm expert. It was a huge luxury to be a teacher. Xiao Ran was happy for a long time that the Draconids could enter the academy and become teachers. With a group of Draconids, the Dragon Gate Academy would definitely rise. The establishment of the Dragon Gate Academy was basically completed. It would be able to recruit the first batch of students of the Dragon Gate Academy soon. The Dragon Gate Academy had also become a force that everyone in Jiang City wanted to join. When is the academy preparing to officially teach? On the evening of the 13th day, Wang Xian sat at the top of the villa with a smile on his face. Beside him, 2 little girls were playing by the side. Xiao Ran, Ji Lingfei, Lu Mingxin, and the Song family were sitting at the front. Master, we are preparing to recruit the first batch of students in 2 days. Apart from Dragon Gate Academy, we have also established an Enlightenment Academy. The Earth is undergoing a drastic change. If we can seize this opportunity, we will be able to nurture many strong people. If the opportunity is good, we will be able to become gods. Xiao Ran said while pondering. Yes, the Earth's change will take at least another 10 to 20 years to end. This era is an opportunity for everyone. Wang Xian nodded his head. Currently, he was extremely carefree. The first change on Earth had already passed. He didn't catch up with the time and didn't reap any benefits. He only managed to get 2 young masters who served them every day. The second mutation had already begun, but he was waiting for it now. Master, recently, someone went to the dark ancient lands to investigate. They discovered that there were a large number of dark demonic beasts in the dark ancient lands. The demons and monsters that appeared in the city a few days ago were just a small part of the population. According to the internet, there will be a type of demonic nucleus after killing those dark demonic beasts. The effect of using it to cultivate is better than using spirit stones. Xiao Ran said to Wang Xian from the side. Oh, demon nucleus? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. There weren't any demon nuclei among the demonic beasts on the supernatural continent. At this moment, Wang Xian moved slightly. He stood up slowly and looked towards the direction of the ocean. What's wrong, master? Xiao Ran and the rest were slightly stunned when they saw Wang Xian's actions. They immediately asked. There are a large number of demonic beasts flying out from the dark ancient land a few hundred kilometers away. Wang Xian said with a twinkle in his eyes. Get people to prepare. The disaster is coming. Chapter 1890. 1890 on the projection of the 9 dragons in the Divine Mountain 1890. What? A disaster? Xiao Ran stood up abruptly when he heard Wang Xian's words. His eyes were filled with shocks. He looked at the vast ocean in front of him and his expression changed slightly. According to the historical records, there is an ancient and evil force in the starry sky where Earth is located. They summoned a group of evil creatures through a formation and caused a war in the entire starfield. The entire starfield erupted into a terrifying battle. The former Earth was torn into pieces, and thousands of gods were killed. The entire starfield was reduced to ruins, and only a few people managed to escape. These dark evil creatures should be the evil creatures that were left behind. Ji Lingfei's face was solemn, and the crystal between her eyebrows was shining. Ao Xingmu, you stay here and protect Hua and Kair. Ao Jian, let's go and take a look. Wang Xian didn't say anything else. His body shook and he disappeared instantly. Xiao Ran, let's inform the entire Jiang city immediately. Even if there are thousands of demonic beasts entering the city, it's not something that ordinary people can withstand. Ji Lingfei immediately said to Xiao Ran. Yes. Xiao Ran's expression changed slightly, and he immediately nodded. Demons have invaded. Everyone in Jiang City, be careful. All members of Dragon Gate Academy, immediately head to the seaside to defend. Xiao Ran floated in the sky, and his voice resounded throughout the entire Jiang City. What happened? It's Principal Zhao's voice. Demons have invaded? Is there a demon that wants to enter our Jiang City? At this moment, everyone in Jiang City had a slight change in expression. The demonic invasion of the city was seen by everyone on the internet. Although there was no demonic invasion of Jiang City, no one was sure if it would happen. With the protection of the experts from Dragon Gate Academy, there shouldn't be any problem. It shouldn't be. Some people were praying in fear. Roar, roar, roar. When Wang Xian appeared in the sky above the dark ancient land in the ocean hundreds of kilometers away, he heard a series of crazy roars. The roars were filled with violence. It was definitely not something that an ordinary demonic beast could produce. One by one, demonic beasts flew out from the dark ancient land and crawled out. Their blood-red eyes stared at their surroundings. There were 7 to 8 types of demonic beasts. Some were like enlarged flies, with sharp weapons all over their bodies. Some were similar to the demon gods who attacked the soaring heavens treasured palace. Some were like insects, looking extremely sticky and pitch black. Some had blood-red eyes all over their bodies, looking extremely horrifying. They came out of the dark ancient land, some went into the sea, and some flew into the sky. There were at least tens of millions of them. Their strength ranged from the extraordinary realm to the demigod realm. Wang Xian stared at the ancient land of darkness. The dragon eyes of the yin-yang 5 elements could not see through it. However, he knew that there was at least a demon god that was comparable to 2 wisps of divine fire. I wonder what's inside. Wang Xian frowned slightly and scanned his surroundings. Under his senses, not only did the creatures from the dark ancient land rush out, the other creatures from the dark ancient land also rushed out. Among them, there were tens of millions of creatures from the dark ancient land rushing towards the Ling Shao treasured palace. Heavenly soldiers and generals, kill this bunch of demons. An extremely cold voice came from the sky above the Ling Shao treasured palace. A dense group of 100,000 heavenly soldiers and generals held long spears and halberds in their hands. They stood on the clouds and charged towards the demons. The Ling Shao treasured palace is under attack. If there are no heavenly soldiers and generals in other places to defend, they will be easily destroyed. Wang Xian frowned slightly. Attack. We must not let go of demons above the demigod level. Wang Xian said immediately. With a wave of his arm, the 5 elements millstone appeared beneath him and pressed downwards. Seeing the sudden appearance of the extremely terrifying 5 elements millstone, the demonic beasts below let out furious roars. In an instant, millions of demonic beasts stared at Wang Xian. Regardless of whether they were in the transcendence, void interpretation, or demigod level, they all attacked the 5 elements millstone. What kind of demonic beast is this? It's so violent. Wang Xian was slightly surprised. The 5 elements millstone was spinning slowly. Buzz. A destructive energy millstone was spinning slowly downwards. All the demonic beasts were crushed into flesh and blood under the energy millstone. In an instant, millions of demonic beasts were turned into blood. Wang Xian waved his arm and the phantom image of the Divine Shadow Kingdom appeared behind him. All the blood entered the Divine Shadow Kingdom. Splash! In the dragon transformation pool of the Dragon Palace, streams of dragon blood flowed into the dragon transformation pool from the heads of the 9 dragon pillars. Roar! Roar! All of a sudden, terrifying sounds rang out in the dark ancient land. The sound instantly covered the entire earth. In the dark ancient land, a few pairs of huge eyes appeared. These pairs of eyes were staring at Wang Xian, Ao Jian, and Ao Qian. Godly state demonic beasts. Wang Xian looked over with a hint of seriousness in his eyes. The dragon eyes of the 5 elements of yin and yang were staring at them coldly. Ao Jian and Ao Qian were also staring at them coldly. Wang Xian and the other 2 looked at the godly state demonic beasts in the dark ancient land quietly. Since they did not attack, Wang Xian did not dare to rush in recklessly. A few minutes later, those pairs of eyes disappeared. There was no movement in the ancient lands of darkness below. There were no traces of demonic beasts rushing over either. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, there was a flash of dark light in the ancient lands of darkness below. Some demonic beasts were brought out in all directions by the light. They actually teleported demonic beasts out directly. Wang Xian frowned slightly. I can't stop him. Go back and guard Jiang City. He had an idea and returned to the villa by the sea in Jiang City. When he arrived, Xiao Ran led a group of Dragon Gate Academy's disciples to guard the place by the sea. The entire Jiang City was brightly lit. If there are any monsters that are stronger than them, Ao Jian, make your move. Wang Xian stood on the villa. His eyes were sparkling as he looked at a few locations and said to Ao Jian, "It's the Dragon King." Ao Jian nodded. That terrifying howl came from the front. Everyone be careful. There are a few black shadows flying over from the front. Get ready. Around the coastal area, Xiao Ran led a group of experts from the Dragon Gate Academy to stare at the vast ocean in front of them and roared loudly. Just now, Wang Xian had only killed a few million demonic beasts. There were also quite a number of fish that escaped the net as well as the demonic beasts that were teleported out from the dark ancient land. If Jiang City didn't have any experts guarding it when these demonic beasts attacked, it would definitely be destroyed. At the same time, there were no other experts like Wang Xian in the other locations of the dark ancient land to suppress them. Countless demonic beasts were densely packed and attacked the human gathering. Just when everyone was shocked and even the disciples of the Ling Shao treasured palace were filled with despair, something happened. The divine mountains began to shine. 9 shadows of 9 dragons appeared in 9 places in the east. Chapter 1891. 1891. In the 1891 Divine Mountains 9 dragons apparition. The earth tonight was sleepless. When roars came from the dark ancient lands, when tens of millions of demons from the dark ancient lands attacked the soaring heavens treasured palace. In every city, everyone came to the open space in shock to take a look. Especially those cities that were closer to the dark ancient lands. In less than half an hour after the roar sounded, there were experts floating in the sky who saw the demons running towards them. Those incomparably sinister dark Yao Xie's blood-red eyes were filled with a tyrannical aura. At this moment, everyone was incomparably shocked. Roar, roar, roar. What a terrifying demonic beast, what a violent aura. It's over, it's over. No, no, how could there be so many Yao Xie? How could it be? If not for the gods of the Ling Shao treasured palace taking action, all of us would have been devoured by the demonic beasts. Terrified voices rang out one after another, and everyone's faces were filled with shock. Some disciples of the Ling Shao treasured palace were also trembling violently in their hearts. Buzz! When the demons were wreaking havoc on the ground, more than 10 ancient mountains in the east bloomed with divine light. Mount Tai, Mount Huang, Amei, Mount Lu, Mount Everest, Mount Changbai, Mount Hua, Wui, Mount Heng, Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, and many other divine mountains bloomed with a dazzling light. The light covered a radius of several thousand kilometers. Roar! 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 Under the cover of the divine light, the demonic beasts immediately revealed expressions of fear and panic. Their berserk faces revealed expressions of fear, and their bodies trembled slightly. Their strength was completely suppressed. What's going on? Everyone looked at the divine light that was emitted by the divine mountains, and their faces revealed expressions of shock and excitement. The divine light could weaken and even suppress the demonic beasts. I know. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, many gods and even the eternal God Lord suppressed these demonic beasts. The demonic beasts died, the gods died, and some demonic beasts revived. Some of the things left behind by the gods and the blood of the gods can still suppress the ordinary demonic beasts. The eyes of some disciples of the soaring heavens palace were shining. The people in the cities looked at the divine light on the divine mountain and felt that they had survived a disaster. I wonder how long this divine light can last. Some people thought to themselves. Roar, roar. At this moment, dragon roars resounded in the world. At the edge of the 8 cities, at the bottom of the sea where the Spirit Sea Palace used to be, a shadow suddenly appeared. It had a head like a camel, horns like a deer, eyes like a rabbit, ears like a cow, a neck like a snake, a belly like a clam, scales like a carp, claws like an eagle, and palms like a tiger. The illusory figure was formed from energy, but it had the eye of a real dragon. This was the divine dragon. The universe divine dragon. The divine dragon appeared out of thin air. It was over 10,000 meters long, and it looked like a diamond in the night sky. The 9 divine dragons rose into the sky and let out a dragon roar in unison, shocking the entire world. Roar, roar. The 9 divine dragons hovered in the air, looking down at this piece of land, guarding the entire land. Buzz. At the same time, the 9 divine dragons released an incomparably terrifying dragon might. Roar, roar, roar. Below, all the demonic beasts around this piece of land lay on the ground in pain, blood slowly oozing out from their bodies. The blood flowed into the ground at a terrifying speed. This is? Oh my God, this is a divine dragon, the legendary divine dragon. At this moment, the entire world was shocked. Everyone stared blankly at the divine dragon that had suddenly appeared. Their faces were filled with shocks. A divine dragon had actually appeared. How is this possible? A divine dragon has actually condensed in the dragon vein below. At the same time, in the sky above the soaring heavens treasured palace, when the figures heard the 9 dragon roars, they immediately appeared in the sky. They floated in the sky and looked down at the divine dragon that was as powerful as hell. Their eyes were also filled with shock. The place where the dragon veins are located is filled with outstanding people and earth spirits. I've investigated the 9 dragon veins on Earth before. Although they aren't weaker than the other dragon veins in the boundless galaxy, it's absolutely impossible for them to condense. This is not just condensed. These divine dragons have souls. They actually have souls. In this dragon vein, there used to be the blood of the divine dragons, but it was only condensed to this extent. Didn't the divine dragon clan perish together with the insect clan billions of years ago? Now, billions of years have passed in the entire Dragon Tomb starfield, and it is still dead silent. Billions of years ago, the divine dragon clan was destroyed, but there are still some creatures with the divine dragon bloodline and some subdragons. The divine dragon condensed below should be a drop of the subdragon's blood that fell into the dragon vein and revived it. Only the soul doesn't have a physical body. Moreover, its current power hasn't reached the divine realm yet. However, this is definitely a supreme treasure. A few figures said with faces full of shock. After one of them finished speaking, his figure flashed and instantly disappeared in the sky above the Lingshao treasured palace. The other figures also moved. In an instant, they arrived above the divine dragons one by one. Their 5 fingers formed into claws and the divine dragons clawed at them. 1. However, the moment he caught them, a few of the divine dragons coldly glanced at him and disappeared in an instant. Only the soul doesn't have a physical body. Even we can't find them if they enter the dragon vein. Damn it. A god looked at the disappearing divine dragons with an extremely pained expression. Divine dragons, they were the pinnacle existences in the universe. Even if it was a subdragon, to them, it was a precious treasure. Even if it was placed in the boundless starry sky, it would cause all the gods to fight for it. However, he also understood that even if it was such a weak divine dragon, if it didn't acknowledge them, they wouldn't be able to capture it. Unless an even stronger existence refined the entire planet. However, with Earth's current mutation, the 9 divine dragons might be able to condense a physical body in a few years. At that time, they would roam the starry skies, wanting to capture or even subdue them. That would be a fool's dream. Damn it, I really did not expect that Earth would have such a divine item. If anyone can obtain a dragon soul, forget about becoming an ancestor of the gods in the future, even immortality might be possible. The gods of the Lingshao treasured palace returned to the sky with extremely ugly expressions. The Earth's metamorphosis and the divine mountain blooming with divine light were all within their expectations. Only the appearance of the divine dragon surprised them. Unfortunately, we have already tried it ourselves just now. The faces of the gods of the Lingshao treasured palace were filled with unwillingness. The divine mountain shone and suppressed Yaoxia. The divine dragon rose into the sky and suppressed the evil spirits. In Jiang City, on a villa near the sea, there was no divine radiance enveloping the surroundings of Jiang City. There were no divine dragons rising into the sky either. One evil spirit after another continued to attack in this direction. Wang Xian stood in the sky above the villa and looked at the 9 divine dragons that were slowly disappearing in the sky. A faint smile appeared on his face. More than 10 years ago, even before the recovery of the spiritual energy, he had dripped 9 drops of the blood of the divine dragons into the dragon vein. The recovery of the spiritual energy had strengthened the dragon vein, and some of his dragon blood had also condensed into a dragon soul. When the divine dragon rose into the sky, he had felt it. It was him. Chapter 1892. 1892 under the projection of the 9 dragons on the 1892 Divine Mountain. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect that a drop of blood from the past would actually give birth to a dragon soul. Wang Xian stood at the top of the villa with a pleasantly surprised look on his face. The dragon vein on Earth back then was just a very small and ordinary dragon vein. His drop of divine dragon's blood was just a weak drop. However, when Wang Xian saw the divine dragon's phantom floating in the air, he felt that he had 9 more clones. This was a very strange feeling. The clones had a hint of intelligence, but he could sense the existence of the clones. He could control the clones. However, the 9 clones seemed to be restricted within a fixed range. They could not leave this range. 9 dragon souls. Their strength has already reached the peak of the demigod realm. What a great fortune! Wang Xian's eyes sparkled. The 9 dragon veins had recovered their spiritual energy. Under the influence of various opportunities, the dragon souls that were born had already reached the peak of the demigod realm. They were just 1 step away from reaching the godly state. He could keep these 9 dragon souls in his body. Similarly, they could also be his clones. This was a great opportunity. It was definitely a great opportunity. The divine mountain will shine, the 9 dragons will rise into the sky, and I will kill Yaoxia. Regardless of whether it is the divine mountain, the land of dragon veins, or killing Yaoxia, all of them can raise one's cultivation base rapidly. It seems that all of Earth's cultivation base will be able to increase tremendously in the future. Wang Xian looked at the location by the sea. Over there, Xiao ran and the rest killed Yaoxia one by one. In the body of the Yaoxia that they killed, there was a shiny, diamond-like demonic core. The demonic core contained a huge amount of energy. By absorbing the demonic beast, the cultivation of the cultivator would receive a huge boost. The tectonic plates of the continent are moving at an accelerated speed. At this moment, Wang Xian looked towards the west. The continents had started to gather and would form a continent. At this speed, I'm afraid there will only be 1 continent on Earth in a few hours. Wang Xian looked at the gigantic holy mountain of light that gradually appeared in his line of sight. It was the holy church in the west. Its influence was similar to that of the Ling Shao treasured palace. There were also pyramids that were dozens of times taller than before. There were a total of 6 pyramids like this. Some people guessed that there was a god in each of the pyramids. Similarly, it was also a major influence. Finally, there was the fiery palace of the god of fire. The faction of the palace of the god of fire was slightly weaker than the other 3. The weakest divine sea palace had already been destroyed by Wang Xian. Soon, the entire earth will be on a piece of land. In that case, all the heaven's favorites in the world will start to compete. The disciples of the big factions will also start to compete. Wang Xian thought to himself. However, Wang Xian didn't take the so-called heaven's favorites to heart. What he was more concerned about was how many gods there were in the 4 major forces and how strong they were. At the same time, on some other continents, in the sky above the holy church, the palace of the god of fire, and the pyramids, numerous vast figures appeared in the sky. In front of them, a group of disciples knelt down. The 9 dragons rise into the sky. If anyone can obtain the dragon soul and form the true dragon body, they will become gods and ancestors in the future. When the continents become one, you will go and look for this opportunity. This is the biggest opportunity on this planet. The gods of the 3 forces stared at the dragon god figures with burning eyes. Earlier, 2 of the godly dragon silhouettes were very close to them and they had tried to catch them. However, the godly dragon was nowhere to be seen and they had completely missed. To obtain a dragon soul, one needed a great opportunity and it had nothing to do with strength. If a disciple could obtain a dragon soul, they would become the son of a true dragon and become a god in the future. He could even cross to a higher realm. Divine dragon, dragon soul. When all the disciples heard the words of the gods, their eyes were filled with desire and fervor. Just now, when the gods made a move to capture the dragon soul, everyone saw it clearly. Unfortunately, none of the gods could succeed. If they could obtain a treasure that even the gods desired, it was almost 100%. This made all the disciples' hearts burn with passion. After the Earth's continent became one, they were ready to step onto it to seek opportunities. At the same time, the 9 dragons rose into the sky and the gods captured them. This scene was clearly seen by everyone. This made everyone on Earth extremely shocked. There was actually a divine dragon on Earth. Tonight, it was a sleepless night for the entire Earth. After Yao Xie was suppressed by the divine mountain's divine light, some experts attacked Yao Xie. After killing Yao Xie, they obtained a demon core and increased their strength. The effect of a demon core was thousands of times more than a spirit stone. After this news was spread, the forces that the skyscraping treasured palace's experts had just established began to crazily attack Yao Xie. In the past, the demigod-level Yao Xie was suppressed at the profound void realm. Killing one of them was a huge profit. Soon, more and more experts joined the ranks of attacking Yao Xie. The entire land was filled with the sounds of fighting and Yao Xie's roars. In the second half of the night, tens of millions of Yao Xie began to flee. They also realized that under the coverage of the divine light, they were no match for humans. Yao Xie withdrew from the area covered by the divine light, withdrew from the area covered by the dragon vein, and became active in the ocean. Some humans chased after him into the ocean, but they soon learned their lesson. More than 30,000 Yao Xie. More than 30,000 Yao cores. We've gained a lot. At this moment, an excited voice came from the seaside of Jiang City when dawn was about to break. Although most of them are at the transcendent level, these Yao cores can improve us a lot. Moreover, the claws and scales of these demon corpses are very special. They can be used to forge weapons. Xiao Ran looked at the corpses around him and a smile appeared on his face. The group had fought for an entire night and had gained a lot. To the faction that they had just established, these resources had increased their foundation by a lot. Dean, a lot of big things have happened tonight. The continent has completely become one. The disciples of the Holy Church, the Fire God Palace, and the Pyramid faction have already appeared on our land. Last night, the evil demons invaded, the divine mountain showed its light, and the divine dragon rose into the sky. Some people said that whoever can get the dragon soul can become the ancestor of the gods. It's very lively on the internet now. A young man walked to Xiao Ran's side and said to him, "Really? Although the evil demons haven't appeared here for half an hour, we can't be careless. 1/3 of our people will stay here and guard. The rest of us will rest. We'll replace them in 8 hours." Xiao Ran slightly raised his eyebrows and said to the people around him, "Yes." Chapter 1893. 1893. Half a year after 1893. The 9 dragons rise into the sky. The 9 dragons come from the dragon veins and have already condensed the soul of the true dragon. According to the legends of the gods, whoever can get the dragon soul can become the ancestor of the gods. Yao Xie is active in the ocean beyond the divine light. He gained a lot by killing Yao Xie last night. The demon core can greatly improve a person's cultivation. According to the test, after absorbing 20 demon cores and comprehending the Abhijna or Dharma idol, one can immediately improve. The continent has become one. Disciples from the other 3 forces have entered. The Saint of the Saint Hall has led a group of experts to roam at the foot of the divine mountain of Mount Hua. 9 dragon souls, the greatest opportunity on earth. Whoever can obtain it will become the ancestor of the gods. At noon, Wang Xian sat in the living room. He flipped through his phone and looked at the messages on the internet. What happened last night was known as the beginning of the second mutation on Earth. Regardless of whether it was the invasion of the demonic beasts, the emergence of the divine mountain, or the ascension of the 9 dragons, all of them represented the beginning of an era. The disciples of the Lingshao treasured palace had just arrived. With the unification of the mainland, the already chaotic situation changed once again. The gods from the 4 major forces seemed to have tacitly agreed not to participate in the competition for the disciples below. It could be said that they did not care about the competition for the disciples below. When a divine kingdom appeared, they would personally go out and enter the divine kingdom to search for treasures. Currently, the 30 to 40 divine kingdoms that appeared on Earth had all been searched by the gods. The rest of them were just following behind and drinking soup. The second mutation began. The dark ancient land appeared, and evil appeared. It was still difficult for them to obtain the only dragon soul that made them extremely hot. In the eyes of the gods, the most precious thing in the second mutation was the dragon soul. Of course, the godhead of the evil spirits in the divine realm was also a huge treasure. However, if they wanted to obtain it, they might die. I didn't expect that when I dripped the blood of the divine dragon into the dragon vein back then, it became the greatest opportunity for the second mutation on Earth. Wang Xian smiled faintly. He closed his eyes slightly and Wang Xian instantly sensed the location of the 9 dragon souls. The 9 dragon souls were hidden at 9 locations in the dragon vein, tens of thousands of meters underground. Even a god wouldn't be able to catch them underground. Even if they were caught, it would be useless. This was because these 9 dragon souls belonged to someone. Wang Xian allowed the 9 divine dragons to develop on their own. He did not bother with the forces established by Xiao Ran. Just like the gods of the 4 major forces, there were no treasures on Earth that could attract him to make a move. Now, he just needed to hide behind and wait. After that, Wang Xian spent the entire day playing with the 2 little girls, drinking tea, playing games, and watching interesting things on the internet. It was very interesting. Xiao Ran's Longmen Academy had already recruited the first batch of disciples. Some of the dragon men who already had a family were acting as tutors and teaching the students. They were also able to receive resources. This made the dragon men very satisfied. As for people like Demon number 156 who were restless, they followed Xiao Ran and hunted demonic beasts in the ocean. This was because Wang Xian had killed millions of demonic beasts in an instant back then. As a result, the number of demonic beasts in the dark ancient land was much lower. This allowed them to reap a lot of benefits. Jiang City, an area that was not covered by the divine radiance, became a good place to hunt demonic beasts instead. As time passed, more and more people entered Jiang City to hunt demonic beasts. This also increased the number of people in Jiang City, a small city. A few months later, something happened in Dragon Gate Academy that caused a huge commotion in the entire academy. More and more people entered River City. Dragon Gate Academy was a major force that was currently in the limelight. The founder of Dragon Gate Academy, Xiao Ran, defeated the 4th divine son, and his voice shook the entire continent. And the reason why Dragon Gate Academy was in a stir was because of the group of Draconids. Some people discovered that the teachers of Dragon Gate Academy were all experts at the peak of the insightful Void Realm. Peak of the insightful Void Realm was also in existence at the Divine Sun Realm among the disciples of the Lingxiao Treasured Palace. One had to know that the 5th Divine Sun who had died, as well as the Divine Suns behind the 5th Divine Sun, were all at the peak of the insightful Void Realm. When everyone learned that the dozen or so instructors of Longmen Academy were all at the peak of the insightful Void Realm, they shocked the entire world. Think about it. A peak of the insightful Void Realm expert was a teacher, and he was teaching students. What kind of concept was this? This was equivalent to a former Tsinghua and Peking University professor coming to an elementary school to teach students. How could this not be shocking? After the news spread, Longmen Academy announced that it was recruiting students and disciples. In the past, parents would do anything to get their children to go to a good school. Now, all the parents were doing the same. Countless people came to Jiang City, wanting to send their children to Longmen Academy. There were also many strong people who joined Longmen Academy because of their fame. For a time, Longmen Academy was in the limelight. In just 2 short months, the number of students in Longmen Academy reached more than 5,000. About 30 dragon men and some insightful Void Realm experts from Dragon Gate Academy were teaching in the academy. A total of about 30 peak insightful Void Realm instructors shook the other factions once again. This caused the reputation of Dragon Gate Academy to rise once again. The existence of Dragon Gate Academy, coupled with the fact that Jiang City was very close to a dark ancient land, allowing them to hunt demonic beasts, caused Jiang City to rise. Half a year later, the entire area of Jiang City had almost doubled. Half a year later, the various large factions began to stabilize, forming 20 factions of 1 sect, 2 clans, 3 courtyards, 4 mountains, 5 religions, 6 sects, and some unspecialized people. These 20 factions were all the factions on Earth. They included the factions established by the Disciples of the Sacred Hall, the Disciples of the Fire God Palace, and the Disciples of the Pyramid. Of course, there were still some small forces below these 20 forces. These small forces could not be compared to these 20 forces. Other than these 20 forces, there were also the Prodigy Role, Divine Sun Role, and Divine Sun Role. This role was the ranking of everyone on the internet. In the past half a year, other than the rise and stability of the major forces, the entire Earth was also filled with wars. The war between humans and demons. Humans killed demons to obtain demon cores. Demons wanted to devour humans to increase their strength. On the battlefield of the ocean, there were countless battles. Daddy, Daddy, come out and play with us. At noon, Wang Xian, who was at the top of the villa, heard the voices of the 2 girls below. You're already so big, play by yourself. Wang Xian opened his eyes and shouted towards the location below. No, bad daddy, play with us quickly. Bang! As soon as Wang Xian finished his sentence, the sound of flowers rang in his ears. Following that, he saw a body pouncing towards him and hugging his neck directly. Didn't I play with you guys this morning? You 2 little guys are really troublesome. Wang Xian looked at the 2 girls. In half a year's time, they looked like they were already 12 or 13 years old. They were 1.4 meters tall and had 2 ponytails. They were full of energy and were pure lowless. Guzi and the rest have gone to school. No one is playing with us. Daddy, I want to go to school too. Chapter 1894. 1894 True Dragon Son of Heaven. Going to school? Wang Xian was slightly stunned when he heard Huar's words. The corner of his mouth twitched when he saw the expectant expressions on the 2 girls' faces. You 2 little girls, your strength has already reached the 3rd level of the demigod realm. Why are you still going to school? Wang Xian looked at them speechlessly and said, Guzi said that there are many students in the school playing together. They can all go to school, so why can't we go? Ichimich will go too. Huar and Kair stood beside Wang Xian and shook his arm. All right, let's go. I'll bring you guys to school. It's good that you guys go to school too, so you don't have to torture me at home. Also, those little guys aren't called Guzi. Wang Xian thought for a moment and said to them, Ichimich bad daddy. They just want us to leave. They'll be called Guzi. Guzi sounds good. Huar pouted and raised her head. The dog they were referring to was a child from the Song family and the Draconid families. The 2 little girls directly called them dogs. Wait a minute, I'll give your brother Xiao Ran a call. As Wang Xian spoke, he took out his phone and gave Xiao Ran a call. What? Master, Huar and Kair want to go to school. Yes, are you in school? Arrange a class for them. Yes, master. I'll go to your villa now. No, let daddy send us there. While Wang Xian was talking to Xiao Ran, Huar said directly from the side. I'll send them there. Wang Xian pinched Huar's cheeks and said to Xiao Ran. Then, I'll wait for you at the entrance of the academy. Let's go. I'll send you to the academy. Wang Xian stood up and held the hands of the 2 girls. It's time to go to school. The 2 girls walked out excitedly. Longmen Academy looked extremely majestic from afar. It was located at the center of Jiang City. It was covered by a formation, revealing its mysteriousness and power. At the entrance of Longmen Academy, 200-meter-long divine dragons were coiled on the dragon pillars. There was a dragon pearl in the mouth of the divine dragons. The entrance of the entire Longmen Academy looked majestic. One of the 20 powers on Earth, one of the 3 academies. Master! When Wang Xian brought the 2 little girls to the entrance, Xiao Ran immediately came down to welcome them. Arrange a class for the 2 little girls and let them study. Wang Xian instructed Xiao Ran. Yes, Master. Leave Huar and Kairos matters to me. Xiao Ran immediately said respectfully. Follow your brother Xiao Ran. Wang Xian said to them. Go. Don't forget to pick us up after school, Dad. Kairos shouted at him. Don't cause any trouble in school, got it? Wang Xian instructed. We're so cute. How could we cause trouble? Huar pouted and said to him. Okay. Wang Xian waved at them. Huh. Suddenly, Wang Xian's body stiffened. He narrowed his eyes slightly. With a flash, he disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he was in the sky above the land of the 9 dragons. The so-called land of the 9 dragons was what people called the land where the 9 dragons rose into the sky. Below the peak of the Dragon Range Mountain, a short and ugly young man was located 10,000 meters underground. At this moment, he was holding an array disc in his hand. On the array disc, there was a needle. The needle was in the shape of a divine dragon. The entire array board was extremely mystical. At a glance, it was obvious that it wasn't an ordinary object. Kiki, Dragon-Seeking Array. I didn't expect the Dragon-Seeking Array to be so useful. It wasn't in vain. I almost died over 100,000 years ago for this treasure. I didn't expect it to be of great use this time. As long as I find the dragon soul and occupy it, I'll be able to condense a divine dragon body. Not only will I be able to recover to my peak, I'll also be able to become even stronger. Who knows, I might even be able to reach above the eternal Godlord. Ha! Excited voices rang out from 10,000 meters underground. The short youth's eyes were filled with excitement and madness. If I can gather the 9 dragons, I can kill even those gods outside. At that time, all the opportunities on Earth will be mine. Dragon-Seeking Array, guide me. Over there, you won't be able to escape from my hands. The young man looked at the dragon head's guidance on the formation plate. His eyes were filled with excitement. His body moved and he dashed forward. His body was unobstructed underground, just like a fish in the ocean. Dragon-Seeking Formation? An item of the godly state? Wang Xian looked at the young man below. His eyes revealed a hint of surprise. A fallen god with a treasure. No wonder he was able to find the location of the dragon soul. It seems that some gods can't be underestimated. He muttered while floating in the air. When he saw the young man coming to the front of the dragon soul, his eyes flashed with an inexplicable luster. Since you want the dragon soul, I'll give it to you. When Wang Xian heard the young man's words, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. A devilish expression appeared on his face. Crouching dragon formation, trap me. Haha, I've got it. I can't believe that I have such a great opportunity when I wake up. Ha. I'll draw the dragon soul into my body and cultivate the body of a divine dragon. In the future, I'll become a divine dragon and soar across the world. Wild laughter came out of the earthen son's mouth. He stared at the trapped dragon soul in front of him and was extremely excited. The dragon soul was more than 10 meters in size, and its entire body was emitting a majestic aura. Trapped within the array, it twisted its body and struggled. Kiki, don't even think about escaping. The Dragon Ambush Array is a treasure at the peak of the deity realm. It's easy to deal with a dragon soul that hasn't become a deity and doesn't have much intelligence. The Earth Descendant laughed as the spot on his chest slowly cracked open. His entire chest was like a black hole. Come in, enter my body. The Dragon-Seeking Array in his hand glowed as the dragon's soul directly flew towards his chest. Wang. Haha, I succeeded. I am the true dragon son of heaven. The youth laughed maniacally once again. His eyes lit up as he looked at his hands. A few minutes later, he sensed the dragon's soul in his body and smiled. His body moved and he flew into the distance. The moment he flew out of the ground, he couldn't help but raise his head. Roar! Roar! A dragon roar resounded through heaven and earth. At this moment, everyone in the land of the 9 dragons was slightly shocked. The familiar dragon's roar sounded once again. Ha! The earth descendant laughed maniacally as he flew into the distance. Boom! 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 When he flew out of the region of the dragon vein, the ground began to shake. Rumble! The area of the dragon vein began to collapse. The dragon soul was taken away, and the dragon vein disappeared. It was taken away by a fallen god. The speed at which the dragon soul grows should be faster than here in the dragon vein. In order for the dragon soul to advance to the godly state, it needs to condense a body of flesh and blood. I hope this fellow can give me some strength. Wang Xian saw everything and smiled. Chapter 1895. 1895 and 1895, on the Little Devil of the Dragon Gate Academy. It was just Wang Xian's intention for the country bumpkin to obtain the dragon soul. With the strength of the dragon soul and the power of the dragon vein, it was undoubtedly wishful thinking for the country bumpkin, a mere powerhouse at the 3rd level of the demigod realm, to capture the dragon souls. Wang Xian saw that this fellow was the reincarnation of a god, so he did not stop him from keeping it in his body. However, if Wang Xian wanted to take the dragon soul over as long as he had a thought, the body of that country bumpkin would explode and be devoured by the dragon soul. In fact, Wang Xian could even use the dragon soul to possess that fellow's body directly. By letting him keep the dragon soul in his body, it would allow him to increase the strength of the dragon soul rapidly. With a resurrected god to increase the strength of the dragon soul, it would be much faster than in the dragon vein. The most important reason why Wang Xian didn't take back all 9 dragon souls was that the resources required for the growth of the 9 dragon souls were too huge. The energy required for the upgrade of the 9 dragon souls was enough for Wang Xian to upgrade himself. It feels pretty good to leave my clone to someone else to nurture. However, ordinary heaven's favorites don't have so many resources to nurture it. It's not as fast as cultivating the dragon soul in the dragon vein. I hope that a few more fallen gods can obtain the dragon soul. Wang Xian thought with a smirk. This was equivalent to having his own child raised by others with great effort. In the end, it gave him a feeling of retirement. It was somewhat satisfying. The true dragon son of heaven. This title is not bad. Wang Xian looked in the direction where his grandson had left. He smiled and disappeared immediately. In this land of 9 dragons, a dragon's roar shook the heaven and earth. Following that, the ground began to collapse and the dragon vein disappeared. Everyone in the surrounding cities looked at the collapsed area with shocked expressions. What happened? Why did the dragon's vein collapse? What was that dragon's roar? Could it be that the dragon's soul was obtained by someone else? Some experts directly flew into the sky and looked down with changing expressions. Their eyes were filled with shock. Damn it, what's going on? What on earth is going on? The dragon soul was actually obtained by someone else. The sect master of the Earth Void sect, one of the 6 sects, was the sect established by the 8th divine son of the Lingshao treasured palace. At this moment, he was floating in the air above the dragon vein. He looked down at the collapsed dragon vein with an embarrassed expression. He had established the Earth Void sect here in order to search for the dragon soul. In the end, he hadn't expected that the dragon's soul here would actually be obtained by someone else. Bastard! He clenched his fists tightly, his body trembling with anger. What happened here quickly spread throughout the world, and on the internet, everyone was talking about the dragon soul. Everyone was envious of who had obtained the dragon soul, and who would have the chance to become a god and become an ancestor. Boom! Holy shit, the Lingshao treasured palace sent a message. The true dragon son of heaven has entered the Lingshao treasured palace, and the gods will help him ignite the divine fire and lift up the divine kingdom. Oh my god, the Lingxiao treasured palace has spoken. The sacred hall has also sent a message. If he enters the sacred hall, he will become a god. The fire god palace has also sent a message from the pyramid. If he joins their faction, they will create a throne for him. This is crazy. My god, the 4 factions are recruiting him together. If only I could obtain it. The internet was in an uproar. At this moment, everyone knew how terrifying the dragon soul was. After obtaining the dragon soul, the gods of the Lingxiao treasured palace would help you ignite the divine fire, help you lift up the divine kingdom, and the fire god palace would build a divine throne for you. This was simply insane. Countless people were in an uproar. Jia, I want you to help me ignite the divine kingdom and lift up the divine spark. I want you to help me build a divine throne? You are not worthy. What I want is for you to crawl under my feet, ha! On the top of a luxurious building on the mainland, a country bumpkin was leaning on a chair. The exposed woman beside him was leaning on his left and right. As he looked at the news on the television, the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. I didn't expect that a drop of blood that I dripped casually back then would actually make the entire world go crazy. When Wang Xian saw the various messages, a wicked smile appeared on his face. Daddy, Daddy. At this moment, Wang Xian's phone rang. Just as he took out his phone, Huar's voice was heard from the other end. What's going on, Huar? Daddy has only been away from you for more than an hour and you missed Daddy already? Wang Xian took out his phone and asked the little girl in a good mood. This little girl had not been away from him for long since she was resurrected. She must have missed him. Daddy, I'm so angry. I'm so angry. One of my classmates actually called their older brothers and sisters to beat me up. He even said that he would call their parents to beat me up. Daddy, come quickly. Come quickly. When their parents come, beat them up. At this moment, the little guy's angry voice came from inside. Wang Xian's face turned black. A cold glint flashed across his eyes, but soon, the glint disappeared. War, what's going on? Why did the others call your siblings and your parents to hit you? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and asked. The kids in our class saw that my sister and I were pretty and wanted to be friends with us. They pestered us after class and even pinched my face and bullied me. So, my sister and I will teach them a lesson. Wawa, put me down. I want to tell my brother and sister. I want to tell Mom and Dad. Just you wait. Huar's words were followed by the sound of crying. This made Wang Xian's face turn black. He recalled the scene of Shinzi, Gu Xingkong, and the rest being beaten up. His face turned black as he imagined it in his mind. War, Kair, you guys have grown up. You need to solve your own problems. Remember, don't break them. Dad is busy. Wang Xian said immediately and hung up the phone. It's only been an hour since I started school. What a little troublemaker. This. The corner of his mouth twitched. Bad daddy, bad daddy. At this moment, in a cultivation room in Longmen Academy, Huar saw the phone being hung up. She pouted and shouted. Quickly put Xingwen down. I'll tell you two little devils. We've already told brother and sister. We've also told Xingwen's father that Xingwen's father is a disciple of Longmen Academy. That's right. Your father has ignored you. You're finished. Quickly let Xingwen go. In the cultivation room, dozens of boys and girls around the age of 12 or 13 looked at the center of the room. A few youths shouted at Hua Kair. They shouted, but their faces were filled with fear. You bunch of cowards. You still call yourselves parents? What a bunch of brats. Huar disdainfully glanced at the few youths around her and waved the whip in her hand. Pa! Ah! In the middle of the cultivation room, a youth was hung upside down by Kair. Huar's whip struck down and the youth cried out in pain. You said that you can't tell the teacher, but you didn't say that you can't call the parents. Those few youths said with flushed faces. Chapter 1896. 1896 Among the imps of Longmen Academy in 1896. You bunch of cowards. Now, you bunch of people should properly apologize to us. In the future, if you see us obediently, my elder sister and I will let you off. In the cultivation room of the lower grade of Longmen Academy, Hua and Kair were clutching their waists. Their small faces were glaring angrily at everyone around them as they softly shouted. You put me down, you quickly put me down, sob 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 sob. In the middle, the young man who was hanging upside down in the air was crying while crying. At this moment, his back and buttocks were covered in blood. Although he was not seriously injured, he looked very miserable. Don't put me down, now you know your mistake, right? Hua Air pouted her mouth and stared at the young man who was hanging upside down, asking loudly. My mistake, I know my mistake, I won't dare to do it again in the future. Sob 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 sob, quickly put me down. The youth shouted loudly, it was a miserable cry. Say loudly, Sister Hua, Sister Kair, I'm wrong. Pa! Hua swung the whip in her hand, it let out a crisp sound as she continued to shout loudly. In the surroundings, the entire class of youths and girls heard that crisp sound and could not help but shrink their heads, their faces filled with fear as they looked at the two little demons in the middle. Woo woo woo. Sister Hua, Sister Kair, I was wrong, I was wrong. The youth's entire body was in great pain as he cried and begged for mercy. That's more like it. Let me tell you, you bunch of cowards, if you dare to bully us in the future, just wait to be beaten. In the future, when you see us, respectfully call me sister, otherwise. Hua said as she pretended to be fierce as she swept her gaze around the surroundings and coldly snorted. Yes, yes, quickly put me down. The youth who was being hung hurriedly replied. Peng. Kair's arm moved and the pitiful youth directly fell to the ground. He forcefully endured the pain on his body and hurriedly got up. He retreated with some fear. Xingwen, Han Han, Starlight, what's going on? Why are you guys calling me big brother and big sister? At this moment, a voice came from the door of the cultivation room. Big sister, sob, 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 big sister. At this moment, when the beaten youth heard the voice coming from the door, he immediately burst into tears and ran outside. Huh! At the door of the cultivation room, 3 17 or 18-year-old boys and girls stood there. From the clothes on their bodies, it could be seen that they were senior students. When the three of them saw the youth running over while crying bitterly, they frowned slightly. The young girl in the middle hurriedly stretched out her hand to hug Xingwen who was running over. What's wrong, Xingwen? What happened to your back? Who hit you? When the young girl hugged her younger brother and saw that the clothes on his back were torn and bloody, her face instantly revealed anger. Even teacher wouldn't dare to hit you like that. Who is it? The young girl's questioning voice sounded. When the few youths beside her looked over, their pupils constricted slightly. It was too tragic. These were completely the marks left behind by whipping their buttocks. Sister Liang Liang, it's them. It's them who beat up Xingwen. They even hit us a few times just now. Without waiting for the pained youths to speak, the few youths beside them hurriedly pointed at the flower picking in the middle of the room. So what if we beat them up? Who asked them to provoke us with their hands and feet? They even called the older ones over. What cowards! Hua Air saw that they were pointing at her, raised her head and said disdainfully. Xingwen, did they beat you up? The young girl's expression turned cold as she asked her younger brothers. Elder sister, it's them, it's them. The young man cried out in pain. You two vicious little fellows, how dare you injure my younger brothers so badly? Come here immediately. The young girl's expression turned gloomy as she immediately shouted at Hua Kai Arts. In school, her younger brother had been beaten up. As her elder sister, she naturally had to help her younger brother vent his anger. Moreover, her younger brother had been beaten up so badly. You're the vicious one. Aren't they just some superficial injuries? I didn't even use any strength. Who asked him to provoke me and my older sister first? Serves him right. Hua Er heard the young girl say that she was vicious and glared angrily at the young girl. To hit so heavily at such a young age, if it's not vicious, then what is it? The two girls are quite cute. I didn't expect them to be so uneducated. How did your parents teach you? Immediately get your parents to come to school. I want to see what kind of parents can teach children like you. The two teenagers looked at Hua Kai and said coldly, "Come here immediately." After the two teenagers finished speaking, the girl next to them shouted coldly again. HM, I let you guys beat up Xingwen just now. Now you're out of luck. Serves you right. It's your first day in class and you're still so arrogant. No wonder you called your father and your father ignored you. Beside them, a few youths gloated at Hua Kai's misfortune. You guys don't have any manners. You didn't even ask why we beat him up and just taught us a lesson. You guys aren't good people either. Kair heard their scolding and her face revealed an angry expression. She waved her arm and a vine appeared in her hand. Little sister, let's teach them a good lesson. Kair stretched out her hand and held the vine as she said to Hua. All right, big sister. Hua's face also revealed a cold expression. They actually dared to say that they had no manners and that they were their father. Oh, little brat, I didn't expect you to still have some ability. The three of them looked at the rattan in Kair's hand, and their eyes flashed with surprise. However, they still did not put it in their eyes. They were senior students. Could it be that they were still not a match for the two little girls? Whoosh whoosh. Right at this moment, they knew that they were wrong. The rattan in Kair's hand moved gently. The three of them did not see any traces of the rattan and immediately felt their legs tighten. Immediately after, they felt their bodies being pulled up. One. They only felt their heads spin before they were directly hung upside down. What? The expressions of the three young men and women changed drastically. They had at least reached the transcendent level, yet they were actually instantly tied up. Hua, it's your turn. I'll let you say that we're vicious. Pa. I'll let you call us uneducated. Pa. I'll let you call us daddy. Pa. A whip appeared in Hua's hand and lashed out directly at the three people's buttocks and backs. Every time she spoke, she lashed out. Moreover, the strength of her lashes was obviously much greater than that of the youth from before. In an instant, the clothes on their bodies were torn apart. How is this possible? You two little fellows. The young girl who was hung upside down in the air felt the tremendous pain coming from her buttocks and back. She was completely dumbfounded as she shouted loudly. They had never thought that they would be instantly subdued. They didn't even have the chance to resist. Around them, a group of 11 or 12-year-old children saw this scene and slightly opened their mouths. 5 words appeared in their minds. How terrifying! These two new beauties were simply little devils. Chapter 1897. 1897, under the little devil of Dragon Gate Academy. Pa. Hurry up and say it, who has no manners. Pa. Hurry up and say it, who is vicious. In the cultivation room of the lower grade, Hua Meng's voice sounded once again, accompanied by the clear sound of whips landing on their buttocks. The pain in his body caused the dazed youth to quickly wake up from the pain. You two quickly put us down. You two little fellows are courting death. Quickly put us down. Damn it, quickly put us down immediately. The two youths felt the pain on their butts and backs. The corners of their mouths twitched as they shouted loudly with flushed faces. A few seniors still came to bully us. Shameless. However, you two grandmothers aren't so easy to bully. Today I'll beat you up. Pa 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 pa. As Hua spoke, she lashed out at the three of them, one whip after another. Ah! Along with Hua's strength, the three of them let out blood-curdling screams. They closed their eyes, their faces filled with humiliation. The three of them had actually been humiliated by the two little girls, and they had even been whipped while hanging in the air. What image would they have in the lower grades in the future? If their classmates in the same grade knew about this, what face would they have left? But very quickly, they did not have time to think about these questions because they felt a burning pain in their buttocks and back. Even their clothes were torn. Sob, sob. The elder sister of the youth from before let out a choking sound. Her arms and legs were entangled, and she couldn't move at all. Every lash that landed on her caused her to feel incomparable pain. After being continuously lashed more than 10 times, she couldn't help but shed tears. At this moment, the youth called Xingwen, who was standing at the side, was completely dumbfounded. His elder sister and senior brothers were actually beaten up by those two little devils. Moreover, it was exactly the same as when they were beating him up. They were directly hung up and beaten up. How was this possible? His elder sister was extremely powerful. Gulp. When the surrounding youths saw this scene, they couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. At this moment, their faces were filled with fear as they looked at the flower picking, as if they were looking at two evil devils. Now, if you apologize to us, we can be merciful and let you go. Quickly admit your mistakes. Hua whipped dozens of times consecutively as she spoke to the 3 senior students who were hanging upside down. Let us go, let us down. When the 2 youths heard Hua's voice, their faces were filled with humiliation as they shouted in a low voice, asking them to beg for mercy for a 12 or 13-year-old little girl. This? How could they do it? You won't admit your mistakes without apologizing, right? Then I'll beat you until you apologize and admit your mistakes. As Hua spoke, the whip in her hand once again struck towards the 3 of them. Oh, stop it for me. The 3 of them were still youths after all. The immense pain caused them to shed tears uncontrollably. Stop it, stop hitting my sister. I've already told my father will beat you up. Seeing his sister being beaten up so badly, tears flowed out of Xingwen's eyes again as he shouted loudly. When your father comes, we'll beat your father up as well. Don't think that just because you called your brothers and sisters over, we won't be able to beat them up. As Hua spoke, she raised her head slightly and the whip in her hand fell once again. Stop. When Xingwen saw this scene, he couldn't help but feel pain. In the cultivation room, all the young men and women were trembling. This was too terrifying. If he were to go to school with these 2 imps in the future, wouldn't he die? At this moment, the entire cultivation room was completely under Hua's control. Teacher Zhao, I'll have to trouble you with this devilish brat of ours. If he needs to be beaten, then beat him up. This brat isn't honest. Just now, he actually cried and told me that someone was beating him up. I wonder which student he is in conflict with. At this moment, in Longmen Academy, 2 middle-aged men walked towards the cultivation room of the lower grade. A middle-aged man with slightly long hair smiled and said to the instructor of Longmen Academy at the side, "Hi, it's just a small matter. Although that child Xingwen is a little mischievous, his talent isn't bad. In the entire class, no one is stronger than him." The middle-aged instructor at the side smiled and shook his head. I reckon that it's a conflict between children. You don't even need to come. If I'm not afraid that the little guy will beat someone up, then my parents will think that the children of our Longmen Academy are bullying people on purpose. The middle-aged man smiled. As the 2 spoke, they soon arrived at the side of the lower grade cultivation room. When the 2 just approached, they heard screams and cries coming from inside. What's going on? Their expressions changed slightly, and they immediately walked towards the cultivation room. When they saw the scene inside the cultivation room, they were instantly stunned. 2 students who were obviously seniors were hanging upside down in the air, and a little girl was beating them nonstop. A little guy at the side was wailing loudly. The middle-aged man with slightly long hair saw that the little guy who was crying was his son, right? And the one who was hanging in the air was his own daughter. The middle-aged man was completely stunned, and an angry expression instantly appeared on his face. However, as a disciple of the Dragon Gate Academy, he still suppressed the anger in his heart. But he had already decided in his heart that he would definitely ask clearly and make that girl who attacked him pay the price. "My good boy." At this moment, he heard his senior brother's voice from the side, which made him slightly stunned. These two little princesses? Aya, two little princesses, what happened to you?" The middle-aged instructor's mouth twitched. What did he see? The Dragon King's daughter, that very, very cute daughter, was actually whipping 3 senior students. These 2 little girls were so cute, how could they hang people upside down and beat them? These 2 little girls were personally sent over by the dean today, so he gave them some good advice. As a former disciple of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect, he naturally knew how to treat the Dragon King's daughter. However, when faced with these 2 extremely cute little princesses, he didn't take them to heart. What could have happened to the 2 little princesses when they were so cute? Even when his junior brother from the Dragon Gate Academy had come to look for him, he had not expected that they would be the Dragon King's 2 daughters. Because they were just too cute. However, when he saw this scene, his body trembled. "Little princess, what happened to you?" The middle-aged tutor hurriedly ran over and squatted beside Huarkire as he asked worriedly. "Their mouths aren't clean. My sister and I will teach them a lesson." They actually dared to provoke us and even say that we don't have a tutor. "Teacher, come and judge us." Huar pouted when she saw the teacher coming over. The middle-aged teacher wiped the sweat off his forehead. "It definitely isn't the fault of the 2 little princesses." All the students in the cultivation room were stunned once again. Chapter 1898. 1898 Little Princess 1898. "Teacher, they beat me up, and now they're beating my sister and the others." In the cultivation room, all the students were stunned when they saw their teacher walk over to Huar and Kire, crouch down, and speak with a smile on his face. "Teacher, isn't this wrong? You see, they even beat him up, and this isn't wrong." "Then what is wrong?" The group of children were slightly stunned. Xingwen's face was even more sullen as he directly complained to the teacher. They were still young and did not notice that the teacher had taken extra care of Huar, Kai and the others. Hearing the teacher's words, they naturally felt very wronged. When the teacher heard his words, he looked at the few senior students hanging in the air. The corners of his mouth twitched, and then he looked at Xingwen who had been beaten up. His butt was already swollen, and there were bloody marks on his back. His face turned black. As expected of the Dragon King's daughter. She has such strength at such a young age. The teacher thought to himself. He ignored Xingwen and looked at Huar Kai. He continued to ask with concern, "2 little princesses, put them down. I'll let them apologize to you. Tell the teacher if anyone bullies you in the school. Let the teacher teach them a lesson. Come. The teacher revealed a smile that he thought was the most amiable as he said to the 2 girls. "Tell the teacher that calling their parents are cowards. They are a bunch of cowards, HMH. Teacher, they were the ones who bullied my sister and me first, so my sister and I taught them a good lesson. Our teacher, who was very gentle, did not hit them too hard." Kai explained to the teacher. Yes, they were too naughty. Teacher will definitely teach them a good lesson in the future." The teacher quickly said to them. "Okay, teacher. As long as they don't bully us, we won't hit them." Kai nodded and said with a smile. This. When the 3 boys and girls who were hanging upside down saw the teacher coming over, they heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. However, they did not expect that the teacher would go and coax the 2 little girls as if he did not see them. This made them vomit blood. At the entrance, the long-haired middle-aged man who had followed the middle-aged teacher over also opened his mouth slightly. Looking at Teacher Zhao who was squatting in front of the 2 little girls, he frowned slightly. "Teacher, we don't want to be in the same class as these little brats. We want to go to the senior grade. These little brats are too childish." Huar pouted and glanced at the students around her as she said unhappily. Alright. I'll immediately tell the principal and ask the principal. The middle-aged instructor immediately nodded with a bitter expression. These two little guys were not ordinary students. Not to mention that he had to squat down and coax them. Even if the principal came, he would coax these two little girls. You go and tell Xiao Ranji that we are going to the senior grade. We are not going with the little brats. Huar immediately said from the side. Xiao Ranji? This? At the door, the long-haired middle-aged man heard their conversation and his eyes widened slightly. Calling the principal big brother, what kind of background did these two little girls have? No wonder Zhao Laoshi was so respectful in front of these two little girls. It turned out that it had something to do with the principal. The long-haired middle-aged man's expression changed drastically. Father, look, they were the ones who beat me up. Sister and the others were even beaten up. At this moment, Xingwen saw that his teacher was ignoring him. He looked at his father at the door and shouted with a bitter face. Beat you up? If you were honest, why would others beat you up? Why would those two girls beat you up? Did you provoke those two little girls? Hurry up and apologize to those little girls. Also, why did you call your sister over when you kids were having a conflict? And you, why did you come here for your brother's matter? Why, are you still going to hit the lower grade students? I think I've spoiled you to the point of lawlessness. The middle-aged man's face darkened when he heard his son's words. He pointed at the middle-aged man's head and shouted sternly. When the young man heard his father's inspection, he was once again dumbfounded. When the young girl who was hung upside down heard her father's voice, tears could not stop flowing down her face. Now that she was hung upside down, she did not think of putting herself down. Instead, she berated her. Sob. The young girl could not help but burst into tears. Little princess, do you think? Should we put them down first? I'll call the principal right now. The middle-aged tutor heard the crying beside them and looked at the miserable state they were in. He squeezed out a smile and asked, "Then let them go." Kai Er nodded and put the three of them down. I'll call the principal right now. Two little princesses, please wait a moment. The middle-aged tutor heaved a sigh of relief and immediately took out his phone to make a call. He was afraid that he would upset the two little princesses, so he immediately sent the message to Xiao Ran. At this moment, in the tallest tower in the center of the academy, Xiao Ran and Ji Lingfei were sitting in the office discussing something. When they saw the message sent by Teacher Song, they were slightly stunned, and a hint of bitterness appeared on their faces. What's wrong, Xiao Ran? Ji Lingfei saw Xiao Ran's expression and asked curiously. It's my master's two daughters. These two little princesses beat up a few people, and now they want to go to the senior class for lessons. These two little princesses are very mischievous, especially Huar. Even my master can't do anything to them. Xiao Ran said helplessly to Ji Lingfei. Oh, they came to Dragon Gate Academy to study? Ji Lingfei was slightly stunned. She was a little stunned, but soon after, her eyes sparkled. Your master's two children are not simple. They are not simple. I don't know how master nurtured them, but their strength is not weaker than mine. Now, the two little princesses want to go to the higher grades. So, I'll go over. Xiao Ran also braced himself and stood up. He had witnessed the mischievousness of the two little fellows in his master's villa. However, he did not expect that in just over an hour, these two little fellows had already beaten up a few students. With the strength of these two little girls, there is no one in the entire Longmen Academy who can teach them. Ji Lingfei looked at Xiao Ran's appearance and laughed in amusement. She could be considered to have some understanding of the two girls of the Dragon King, especially when the two little girls had hung Gu Xingkong up and whipped him. If that scene was released, it would definitely shock the entire world. Oh right. Suddenly, Ji Lingfei narrowed her eyes slightly and looked at Xiao Ran. A month later, don't we have a competition with the other big academies? Why don't we put the two little princesses in the elite class? Oh, the elite class? Let the flower-picking girls participate in the competition. This absolutely won't do. Xiao Ran was slightly stunned, but he quickly shook his head. I'm not asking them to participate in the competition. I'm asking them to go to the elite class. Think about it. These two little girls are very mischievous to begin with. The students of the elite class are no match for them. When they are bullied by these two little girls, it can completely stimulate their fighting spirit. Ji Lingfei's gaze flickered, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She was filled with wicked interest. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.